So, what's so important about this guy's sword? The comment, once more, got Anko to hang her head. Seriously? What the hell do they teach these brats nowadays? She tempted to go back to the Hawkage Tower after this. Not knowing who the 7 swordsmen of Kiri were was a warning sign in her mind. Konoha's genin would most likely be made a laughingstock if they didn't know this sort of thing. Then again, Nagaki's not the sharpest tool in the pouch. Could have just skipped through that lesson. The 7 swordsmen date back to when Kiri was founded. Gaki. Like Tetsu said, they are Kiri's most elite, their strongest fighters, and their swords are wanted for their unique properties and abilities. To them, the death of a 7 swordsman is not as important as the whereabouts and safety of one of their swords. If one of them dies, they can be replaced. The swords, on the other hand, can't because whoever made them aren't alive anymore. And with the materials used being unknown, no one has any way of replicating them. In the Kubikira Boko's case, the sword is almost the same size as Zanma, but not only is the metal 1/3 of the weight, but it's as strong as the densest of metals. Add that it regenerates itself by using the iron in the blood of those it cuts. And you've got yourself a badass weapon. Anko had to admit it was her kind of weapon. Too bad it was too cumbersome for her to use, and didn't support her fighting style. That's why I wanted it, kid. Think about it. You have a family sword, an heirloom that's been in your family for generations, and it gets damaged beyond normal means of repair. The Kubikira Boko's ability allows it to go from a useless blade to fully restored in a matter of minutes, and all it needs is blood. My wife was a genius when it came to weapons. Here Anko snorted and muttered OCD weapon fanatic. And her hands, she could probably have figured out a way to replicate its ability, and find a way that didn't require the use of blood. Here the man sighed. Unfortunately, I lost the goddamn thing in a skirmish a couple days later against Kiri's Hijo Kondi, Heartless Pair, Jinpachi Munashi, and Kushimaru Kuriyare, both of which were members of 7 swordsmen and bloodthirsty bastards. In their minds, if anyone other than a swordsman or the cage touched the 7 swordsman blades, they should be killed. Alone, I had a better chance of winning against one of them, but against both of them I'd have better luck trying to get a rock to float in water. Adding to the fact I was leading a rescued genin team back to the border with me, meant I had no choice but to bolt. Luckily, they were more interested in the sword, so I threw it in a deep ravine with a strong current. They chased after it instead of us. Important as the sword, I wasn't about to risk the life of another. It wasn't worth it. But me trying to steal one of their fabled swords had me blacklisted with Kiri ever since. They take that kind of thing very seriously. Gotta say, I don't care much about history, but that was actually pretty good compared to Iruka-sensei's bedtime stories. Naruto had lost count to how many times he and a few others fell asleep to the man's history lessons. Shikamaru himself fell immediately asleep. Then moment the lesson began. Usually Iruka needed to go on for a few minutes before it happened. Yeah. Umino's a good ninja, but even my daughter admitted that he's a little too bland at times. The man smirked. Sorry we couldn't find you a weapon that suited you. However, rummaging through some things out back, the man returned with a sheet of paper. Here, to make it up to you. Wow, paper. Thanks. What the hell was he supposed to do with paper? Write Tetsu a thank you note. That's chakra paper, Gaki. You put your chakra into it to see what your elemental affinity is, Anko informed him. This way, when you start to learn jutsu, you'll know what to focus on. Can't I just learn as many elemental ninjutsu as I want? First off, lose that mindset. Secondly, no can do. You could try, but it takes years for people to learn and master just a single element, and that's with them having an affinity or some kind of natural talent for it. Even for prodigies, it usually takes 2 or 3 non-consecutive years. Thirdly, people are usually born with a primary affinity, and sometimes, if you're lucky, a secondary one. Those primary and secondary affinities allow them to learn techniques for those elements much faster, but their opposing natures will take longer. In other words, if you have an affinity for fire, then learning Suiten Jujutsu will go much more slowly, unless you have a bloodline limit, or affinity related to it. It won't be impossible, but you won't have as easy a time learning those kinds of techniques otherwise. By the way, you do know what the elemental affinities are, right? Duh. Fire, water, earth, wind, and lighting. Naruto recalled the lesson. It was one of the few boring ones he actually paid attention to. Good. When you push chakra into it, the following will potentially happen. Fire will ignite it. Wind will split it in two. Lightning will crinkle it. Earth will turn it to dust. And water will make it wet. Give it a shot, Anko said. Focusing as well as he could, Naruto closed his eyes and concentrated on flowing his chakra into the paper. It wasn't a second later when the boy heard the paper ripping in two before the two halves ignited. Congratulations! You have discovered your elemental affinities. Wind affinity. A rarity among the other affinities to those who live outside of K's, no Kuni. Techniques with this affinity are performed by making chakra as sharp and thin as possible. Wind release is mainly short to mid-ranged offensive techniques that combine brute force and keen precision to cutting, concussive, and slashing damage. True masters of Futon are capable of performing feats that leave many in fear, such as creating hurricane force winds to tear apart the opposition. Increases the power, speed, and effectiveness of wind-based skills by 20%. Decreases chakra used for wind-based skills by 20%. Increases experience gain when learning and using wind-based skills by 20%. Fire affinity, secondary. A fairly common affinity that is usually affiliated with the tiger hand seal. Techniques with this affinity are mostly offensive and are mid to long-range techniques that cause combustive and explosive damage. Though weak against Suiten, experts of kata ninjutsu are capable of evaporating water as well as melt rock, armor, and enhanced metal with little effort, while masters of the art are capable of leaving only ash behind and capable of making most water-based techniques useless. Increases the power, speed, and effectiveness of fire-based skills by 10%. Decrease chakra used for fire-based skills by 10%. Increases experience gain when learning and using fire-based skills by 10%. Whoa! Don't see that every day, Tetsu remarked. So a primary wind affinity and a secondary fire one, Anko explained, and had to admit this was a pretty uncommon phenomenon. Sweet. I have wind and fire. Well, it's good and bad, Anko burst his bubble. Good, because you have two affinities that complement each other, and because they let you cover all ranges. However, both are pretty much offensive-oriented with little to no defensive techniques. So you're screwed on that part unless you come up with your own, which won't be easy. Tetsu decided to chime in as well. Plus, unlike fire, which is common in high no Kuni, wind is considered rare unless you're from K's no Kuni, and there aren't that many masters or practitioners in Konoha. One of the few I know offhand would be the Sandame's son, Sarutobi Azuma. Asked me to make him a pair of chakra blade trench knives to complement his futon techniques. Problem is? Yeah. Anko nodded and knew where he was going. Hello? I don't know what the problem is, Naruto shouted to their embarrassment. Oh, right. Azuma's kinda laid back and doesn't do anything unless he really needs to. So unless he's your teacher, or unless you hire him to teach you, you're Saul. There are only two other futon masters in Konoha. One is Shimura Danzo, but trust me when I say you don't want him as a teacher. Anko's face turned into a snarl. And the other? Naruto asked, slightly frightened by her expression, and made a note not to meet the man. Mogurama. Kenzei, Tetsu cut in. He was Azuma's futon instructor. He and Danzo are easily the best futon users in Konoha and our only futon masters. Unfortunately, he passed away sometime after the QB incident from a crippling injury that only got worse. He had no kids, but I think I heard someone say that anything he had was willed to Azuma. So like Anko said, you're out of luck, Tetsu apologized. So my options are either a guy who sounds like he doesn't give a crap, or someone I really don't want to deal with. Naruto summed it up. It wasn't like he could bring a dead man back to life. Pretty much, Anko nodded. You guys really love getting my hopes up, don't you? Naruto deadpanned. Sorry, the two half-heartedly apologized. Thanking him once more, Naruto left the store with Anko as Tetsu went back to finish his project. Alright, since that's done, come with me. Anko took a hold of him, and soon after a few more flickers did they find themselves near a training field. Why are we here? Naruto asked Anko. Well, in my time, the purpose of a training ground was for training, was her answer. Like I said before, your ass is mine till you graduate. And kid, you need a serious tune-up. If I or Midori weren't in there with you, you'd be dead. Way to sugarcoat it, Naruto muttered, and idly wondered if he should bother telling her about the fact he couldn't die in an instant dungeon. I was sugarcoating it, Gaki. If I wasn't, I would have called you dumber than a 10-pound bag of stupid. Anko stared at him impassively before sighing. Look, normally I wouldn't give two shits about training some snot-nosed brat. Hell, I could be training myself and doing other things than this. Naruto didn't care for the insult, she'd pay for that one, but he was confused by what followed. Then why are you? Anko merely looked at him honestly. Maybe it's 'cause you remind me of me. You're an orphan like me, full of piss and vinegar and eager to prove yourself to a world that doesn't really care what happens to yous. Also, part of me feels responsible for you from the small amount of time I've spent with you after what just transpired. You said your dream is to become Hokage, right? Naruto nodded vigorously. Yeah, I'm gonna... boop. She stopped. Don't want to hear it, Gaki. It's a good goal, and if you get it, good for you. But realistically, you're a very long way from getting the hat. I wouldn't be able to tell you how to go about it since becoming Hokage was never on my to-do list. But one thing I do know is that what all the Hokage candidates had in common was this: leadership, power, willingness to give their lives for the village, and having the backing of the village. Things you're missing. Naruto merely frowned as Anko listed the things he needed. It wasn't his fault many in the village didn't like him. Well, maybe doing pranks on others didn't help. At the moment, you're gonna need to focus more on refinement than your offense, Anko suggested. However, before we do that, we're gonna play a little game I like to call Snake and Mouse, she grinned. Don't you mean cat and mouse? Naruto asked. Not with my version, she said as Midori yawned and her sharp fangs glistened in the sun's rays. Hey, Midori, up for a little round of snake and mouse? Naruto paled considerably. He had seen what Midori could do firsthand, and wasn't all that interested in being her chew toy, or lunch for that matter, or becoming flatter than a pancake. Can't murder now, sleeping. Midori yawned and slithered off somewhere else where she could peacefully go back to sleep. Murder! Naruto paled even further. What the hell kind of game is this? Hey, get back here! Don't go back to sleep. Hey, wake up you lazy worm. But it was no use. Anko knew that Midori would have camouflaged and hidden herself very well, so trying to find her would be a waste of time. Anko blushed and hung her head in embarrassment. This is not how I envisioned this moment. Naruto, meanwhile, looked like he was ready to bust a gut and failing hard to hold it in. If you so much as utter one syllable, Gaki, I'll hunt you down and gut you like a fish, she roared at him. It did the trick. As always, works like a charm. She loved it when her plans came together. Alright, now seeing as how that lazy reptile is getting her beauty sleepy, she glared at the woods where the hidden serpent slept. I guess I'll have you show me how fit you are, and see what needs improving. Quest alert! Remedial training, daily quest. Main quest, train for more than 1 hour. Side quest, train for more than 2 hours. Side quest 2, train for more than 3 hours. Main quest completion, 650 XP, 150 reputation. Anko. Side, Quest 1. Completion, 200 XP, 50 reputation. Anko. Side, Quest 2. Completion, 250 XP, 75 reputation. Anko 1. Attribute point. Failure, 100 XP, 50 reputation. Anko. Note: quest can be retaken after 24 hours. Quest is mandatory. To start, drop and give me as many push-ups till I tell you to stop, she ordered. Naruto thought it didn't sound like much, and immediately set out to do as commanded. Stop. All wrong. Halfway into his first 10 push-ups did Anko make her displeasure known. Naruto was confused as to what exactly was wrong about it. First off, you need to go all the down, not just part way. Second, your arms and body aren't positioned correctly. The way you're doing it will still give you a workout, but it won't be as intense. But I've always done it this way. Still makes it wrong regardless. Hasn't anyone bothered correcting you? By his look, she got her answer. Never mind. Let me show you how it's done. Setting him in the correct stance, which felt very different and awkward than what he was usually used to, Naruto began his push-ups. By the time Naruto had been ordered to stop, his arms were very much sorer than how they'd normally be. After the push-ups were done, Anko ordered Naruto to perform some sit-ups. His form in this exercise was better, so Anko didn't bother correcting him. After a while, Anko ordered him to stop before she handed him a nearby stone and had him recommence his exercise. This went on for quite some time before Anko felt she had a decent grasp on the situation. Gotta say, Gaki, not bad. Anko was being honest, as most genin would be sweating like crazy or on the ground panting. The amount of stamina he's got for his age is nuts. Anko wondered if that was all Naruto, or if the QB had a role in it, or both. Either way, whomever he took to bed would be damn happy. Alright, now let's start on your taijutsu next. Both Naruto and Anko would unfortunately learn that almost all of his forms were wrong. Anko swore to give the academy instructors a good old torture session when she had the chance. It would take Naruto quite some to get used to the new movements now, since they all felt foreign to him. Anko had merely stated that since his body was so used to doing it in a certain way, it had developed muscle memory for that specific movement, making it easier to perform. Now that he was doing it differently, his body was adjusting to the new forms. Luckily, his stamina would help make the process easier. Give me 10 more front kicks on that log, Gaki, and put some muscle into it. Anko barked as she did her own set of exercises while maintaining a watchful eye on him. Sadistic son of a... Naruto grunted out before kicking the log. I heard that. Another 20. Naruto merely grunted some more, but did as he was told. Once he was done, Naruto had to take off his shirt that was heavily soaked in his sweat after only 3 hours of working out. Beforehand, he was able to do between 4 and 5 hours. Sometimes, if he really pushed himself, he could go for 6. It made Naruto realize just how bad he had been doing it, and had a while to go at correcting his movements. Oh well. At least I increased my star by 3, and my taijutsu by 1, the latter of which had been increased to the academy's intermediate level. Naruto realized that much like having proper kunai and shuriken to throw, using the proper technique when working out increased his stats much more quickly. Alright, Gaki, you're done physical exercises for the day, Anko announced. Naruto ignored the pop-up for quest completion. Not bad. You still got a while to go, but... Oh, Kami, Gaki, you I can smell you from over here. The woman pinched her nose. Look who's talking, Anko-san. Midori, now awoke from her nap, said. Well, if it isn't Sleeping Beauty herself. Where were you when I wanted to torture my new ward? The way she said it so casually made Naruto shiver, and think this wasn't the first time this occurred. Getting some much-needed rest, Midori yawned some more. But in all seriousness, Anko-san, you need a shower. Midori's tongue forked out of her mouth, though not as badly as him. Sniffing himself. Naruto didn't think he smelt that bad. Hey, She's got a point. Anko emphasized her point by pointing towards her pinched nose. Well, no matter. Now let's move on to your ninjutsu. Oh right. Never mind, we'll skip that portion. The Kunoichi, remembering how his repertoire was non-existent. Hey, I'll have you know. I recently learned the Hidama no Jutsu. Naruto informed her. Ooh. A D-ranked technique used for starting campfires. When I was an academy student, the requirements were the Academy 3 and demonstrating that we could properly use 3 C-rank techniques, with at least one of them being lethal. Anko retorted. You mean you guys got to learn awesome ninjutsu? What the hell? The fairness of it all sucked in his mind. What the hell indeed, Gaki? Anko sighed. Okay. So other than that, do you at least know the Ki no Bori no Shugyo tree climbing practice? What's that? I'm gonna kill him, was Anko's mental note. It's a chakra control exercise. You learn it after completing the leaf balancing one. We do, but we just started learning that, Naruto informed her. Anko merely sighed and wanted to bash in some skulls once more. They're just now learning it? In the end, Anko guessed it was better than nothing. Truthfully, it was. It was almost nothing in her books. Okay, how far are you at it? She hoped it was far. 5 leaves, Naruto said, and Anko nodded. 5 leaves. Okay, that's a decent amount. She was being honest, as most by now would still be level 3 at best, considering Naruto's condition of being the Kyuubi's Jinchuriki, and his way above average chakra levels. For even a Jonin, it was a decent feat. Okay, so we can skip on learning the tree climbing exercise till you get up to 10 leaves. Here Anko adopted a thinking pose on what she could do next. I got it. Snake and mouse. And if you try to duck out on me again, I'll shish kebab you before you have time to turn into your former self, Midori. Anko glared at the unrepentant-looking serpent. So feel like you're up for it, Gaki. Quest alert. Snake and mouse, beginner level. Main quest. Avoid being captured by Midori for 3 minutes. Side quest. Avoid being captured by Midori for 4.5 minutes. Side quest. Avoid being captured by Midori for 6.5 minutes. Main quest completion. 750 XP, 150 reputation. Anko and Yua Midori. Side quest 1. Completion 350 XP, 75 reputation. Anko and Yua Midori. Side quest 2. Completion 425 XP, 100 reputation. Anko and Yua Midori. Failure 250 XP, 50 reputation. Anko and Yua Midori. Failure 250 XP, 50 reputation. Anko and Yua Midori. Note: if you fail the quest, you can retake it after 24 hours. Except yes, no. Naruto wholeheartedly pressed on the yes, bring it, was his reply. You got balls, Gaki. Anko liked the kid's moxie. Now, because you wouldn't last a second against Midori, myself either for that matter, I want to be fair. So here are the rules. Telling me the rules is being fair. Since when was that a thing? How the hell does that work? Simple. I never tell the rules when I play this game. Anko's sadistic grin appeared. Oh, that's fair then, Naruto nearly squeaked. Rule 1. You're gonna have a 30-second head start. Use it well. Okay, that's not really a rule and more of a generous offering than anything. Rule 2. Midori's gonna come at you with the intent to kill and you don't want to get bitten, so you gotta do the same, Gaki. And Rule 3. Ready, set, go, she suddenly shouted. No fair, that's cheating. Naruto ran into the woods as fast as his exhausted body could. We're ninja, Gaki. Cheating's what we do and life's not fair. Get used to it, Anko shouted back. Try not to hurt him too much, Midori. No promises, Anko-chan. Midori's grin was similar to her summoner. By the end of it, Naruto would hate this game. Chapter 6. Anko plus training equals pain. Konoha, 3 weeks later. Naruto huffed and puffed as he tried to inhale the sweet taste of air. While air lacked taste in general, the overall training, the definition of it was still a topic of debate in his personal opinion, was unlike any he had ever experienced. Not bad, Gaki. Not bad at all, Anko told him. Only 2 seconds short of passing the 6.5-minute point that time. You are getting better, Naruto-san, Midori hissed. You didn't even have to resort to the chili pepper bombs this time. Naruto shivered at the snake's shift in tone. The chili pepper incident had occurred the first time he faced Midori. Flashback, 3 weeks previous. As Midori used her sensitive tongue to try and locate her prey, part of her couldn't help but think that this was a tad unfair. Midori had 23 years of experience under her belt. Even when she was little, she was a deadly predator. Granted, her poison back then wasn't as potent, for summons at least. For her to be hunting down an academy student like this was embarrassing in her books. True, Naruto had potential and his unique ability would allow him to grow stronger at an accelerated rate. But even with his current improvements, the boy didn't stand a chance against her. He had even less chance if she shifted to her larger form, and that form is currently only a fourth of her original size. Little to no ninjutsu. His taijutsu had many flaws. The list went on and on. Forking her tongue out once more, Midori managed to pinpoint Naruto's location within a tree. Poor boy must still be exhausted from Anko's training. She would admit that Naruto's stamina far surpassed that of any academy student and most jonin, but she supposed that even he had his limits, especially when it came to performing exercises his body wasn't accustomed to. Either way, the serpent side, the game, as Anko so affectionately called it, was over before it began. For him to have lasted 56 seconds is not bad for a start. Granted, I'm going easy on him. Had she taken this seriously, it would have been over much sooner. As soon as she came upon the tree where Naruto's scent was at its strongest, Midori sped up in the blink of an eye and found herself quickly wrapping around a log instead of her prey. What? How? Ah, the boy's more clever than he looks. The log in question was about Naruto's height and covered in his scent. Thanks to the torn clothing he wore in the dungeon, he cleaned himself off with them to use my senses again. Boom! Midori's thoughts were cut short as she found herself enveloped in an explosion. Being a summon, her skin and bones were much denser and tougher than a regular snake. Furthermore, the exploding tag was of the lowest caliber. It wouldn't be enough to kill or hamper her. Sting and give her light burns, yes, but not much else. However, Midori soon realized that the explosion lacked the telltale sting of fire and concussive force associated with an effective exploding tag. A cloud that had a slightly red hue to it began to form around her. Wahaha! Midori soon began writhing and hissing in pain. Her senses, tongue, and eyes felt like they were on fire from whatever was used in that explosion. Midori could only curse her careless behavior for allowing herself to believe this would be simple and quick. She had forgotten how Anko had informed her of the boy's pranking habits, and now she was suffering for it. Not as much as he'll suffer after I catch him, the angry serpent thought as she got as far away from the cloud of red as best as she could, her senses still impaired and her eyesight and tongue still burning. Forking her tongue out, it took several tries before Midori managed to catch the scent of water from a nearby river. Making her way towards it, and bumping into many things along the way that hampered and only served to enhance her anger, Midori dove headfirst into the water to cleanse her body of the powder that hurt her. As a minute passed, Midori realized that the boy had managed to evade her for a little under 3 minutes thanks to the stunt he pulled. The serpent pulled her head out of the water and forked her tongue to try and catch his scent once more. That damn cloud is making this difficult. Currently, the trees were the only areas where Naruto's scent was at its strongest. Where could he have? Whipping her head around, Midori realized what Naruto had done. He dove into the water to mask himself. Midori had to admit that despite wanting to rip him to shreds for what she suffered, she was beginning to become more and more impressed with Naruto. From her observation, he-boy wasn't the sharpest tool in the shed, but she greatly underestimated his ability to formulate plans on the fly. Such a skill was of great importance for shinobi. But now this ends. She was done taken fooling around and hissed as she dove back into the water and swam with the current. Her natural speed and the swiftness of the river made her seem like a blur and invisible to the eye. Gasping for air as he came out of the river, Naruto dragged himself to shore, the action taking some effort due to him still being a bit winded from the previous exercise. 3 minutes have passed. Naruto allowed himself to smirk as saw the words, "Looks like my plan woah!" Screamed as he flew through the air like a bird and smacked into a tree with all the grace of a boulder rolling down the mountainside. Ow! He groaned and saw that the stunt had cost him a good amount of HP. Getting to his feet as quickly as he could, the blonde's actions were for naught, as he found himself bound tightly to the tree. Using Ekowarimi was now out of the question, as it was meant to be used before being captured or before a technique struck them, with only those who mastered the advanced version being capable of replacing themselves out of certain confinements. Hearing a particularly vicious hiss, Naruto came face to face with a very angry-looking snake. "I surrender." Midori merely smirked before opening her mouth, showing off a series of very sharp teeth. "Oh shit, can we talk this over?" Her vicious grin was her answer. "Uh-oh" was all he managed to utter before she lunged. "Ah." Flashback ended. What followed had not been pretty, and Naruto still shivered at the memory of it all. While there were no rules to the game, unofficially that is, Naruto knew that chili powder bombs were off limits, unless he desired a good thrashing like no other. Quest completed. Snake and Mouse, beginner level. Main quest. Avoid being captured by Midori for 3 minutes. Accomplished. Side quest. Avoid being captured by Midori for 4.5 minutes. Accomplished. Side quest. Avoid being captured by Midori for 6.5 minutes. Failed. Main quest completion. 750 XP. 150. Reputation. Anko and Yua Midori. Side Quest 1. Completion. 350 XP. 75 Reputation. Anko and Yua Midori. Total rewards earned. 110%. Pueo at 1210 XP. 225. Reputation. Anko and Oidori. "So what does that bring your level up to now?" Anko asked. "Nothing. Still at 14, Naruto informed her. 3 weeks, and in that time, Naruto had only leveled up 3 times. However, lacking only approximately 1,500 experience points, Naruto was well on his way to leveling up once more. But getting the required experience points was becoming harder and harder. As it was the final year, which was only 5 months compared to the usual 10, Iruka was cracking down on slackers during classes, which meant Naruto couldn't skip any of them. Anko herself didn't mind if he skipped, but that was so long as he didn't get caught, or he'd be punished by both senior ninjas. Furthermore, much of his time after class was spent training with Anko for hours. And unless she was busy, but even then, she'd have Midori keep an eye on him. Weekends were full-day training and testing. Sadistic and crazy as she was, Anko was a dedicated teacher, though her methods would likely break lesser academy students. And any of the spare time he had was in the dungeon grinding and farming, though now he did so solo. However, with his current level, the enemies now gave almost no experience until he leveled up his ID skill. Even then, the amount of time he spent in them was minimal, as by the time Anko was done with him, Naruto could only spend an hour or two in the dungeon before he was forced to call it quits for the night, which meant he hadn't had the opportunity to fight the Legion zombie once again. The only benefit was him increasing his skills to greater levels, but that didn't last long, as most of them were mastered, or close to it. Either way, it would be a while before he earned enough to level up once more. And when that happens, I can finally access the natural dungeons. Who the hell came up with that stupid level restriction rule? He put that thought aside, as it wasn't that big a priority to ponder on. 2 weeks ago, Naruto had made it his goal to see if Konoha had any natural dungeons, and the fruits of his labor were met with mixed results. The good news: the search hadn't taken him that long. The natural dungeons were all abandoned training grounds, places that had either become too damaged and permeated by a large amount of residue chakra over the decades that went unchecked, or were affected by powerful pockets of chakra, such as the Kyuubi's. Over time, these places were deemed unsafe and not accessible to anyone below the level of an experienced genin or above, which led to the bad news. The lowest level requirement was 15, and each dungeon was somehow connected to one another, meaning to get to the next one he had to clear and conquer the previous dungeon and then move upwards. All right, enough daydreaming. Get up and clean yourself off, Anko ordered, and extended her arm so Midori could slither inside her trench coat sleeve. Where are we going? Well, you said you wanted to learn Kenjutsu, right? Took a while, and a lot of nagging and whining on my part, but I managed to get a couple of people who were willing to teach you the basics. There's some of the best in Konoha. You're welcome, she informed him. Uh-huh. What's the catch? While their time together was brief, Naruto had since learned that with Anko there was a catch to almost everything. Anko cursed as she hoped he wouldn't find out till after she dropped him off. Damn it. Okay, I may or may not have acquired their services in exchange for you offering your own at a significantly reduced, if not imperceptible sum. Huh? They agreed to train you, and you in turn perform chores for them. Midori translated. That's what I just said. Great, Naruto drawled. More free time taken away from me. Better get used to it. Unless it's wartime, the only missions genin are regal to the moment they graduate are D-rank ones. You poor saps are basically hired help for those too busy or incapable of performing everyday chores. Seeing his aghast look, Anko began to laugh. What? You honestly didn't think you'd be saving damsels in distress and beating up evil ninja on your first day on the job, did you? Naruto's face never changed for the better. Okami, you did, didn't you? Oh man, that's just priceless. Sorry, Gaki, but you gotta earn that right by waddling through the mud and crap like the rest of us first. Anko wished she had a camera to immortalize Naruto's look of horror. Midori herself laughed, both at Naruto's face and Anko's deviousness, for excluding the tidbit of information regarding the odd C-rank mission for genin. It wasn't Naruto's fault for not knowing. Most academy students were never told, as it was a running gag that had been going on from one generation of ninja to the next ever since Senju Tobirama founded the academy. Anyway, dust yourself off. We leave in 2 minutes, Anko ordered. Shouldn't I go shower? Naruto asked, not needing to take a whiff to know that he stank. Not unless you want to take another shower soon after, was Anko's reply. Trust me when I say that even with your stamina, from what I heard, you're gonna be sweating buckets. Intrigued by the prospects, Naruto began to clean himself off as quickly as he could. Whilst he was doing this, Midori silently whispered into her friend's ear. I don't recall any begging involved, Anko. Hush you. He doesn't know that, Anko told her familiar, but could deny her words either. The entire exchange between Anko and the sword users was much different than how she described it to Naruto. Flashback 1 day ago. Dango and sweet bean soup. A perfect combination, Anko purred as she noshed on her meal. At her left protruded a series of miniature skewers that formed the Konoha symbol. You keep eating those in excise amounts, and you're gonna lose that figure of yours. Anko. Yugao spoke as she and Hayate sat down beside her. Yeah, like that will ever happen. Anko seriously doubted she'd lose her perfect figure. What do you two lovebirds want? Actually, this is Hayate's doing, Yugao informed her fellow purple-haired kunoichi. Really, Mr. Ballerina here. Yugao chuckled lightly. You're never going to stop calling me that, are you? Hayate deadpanned. Hey, you were the one dancing in the forest, Anko smirked. I wasn't dancing, I was… forget it. The man wasn't about to get drawn into this argument again. The incident had been him practicing his swordsmanship, and the particular techniques he was honing had made it look like he was doing a series of feminine dance moves. Anko, be nice, Yugao told her friend. The woman knew it was merely Anko being herself. She and Hayate were good acquaintances despite always teasing him like this. You're no fun, she huffed childishly for a second before quickly changing the next moment. So what's up? Knowing she was now taking this seriously, or as seriously as Anko was known to, Hayate began. I want to know if the rumors regarding Naruto are true. Which ones? There were several rumors revolving around Naruto, so knowing which one he was referring to was sort of difficult to ascertain. Him no longer being a shoo-in for dead last, he elaborated. Heard he also has a dual affinity for fire and wind. That true too? Anko cocked an eyebrow at why he was asking this. Under her discipline, Naruto had showed decent progress that was reflective at school. He wasn't in the top rank, or even the middle rank, but he wasn't a shoo-in like before. As she wondered about the man's sudden interest, it took the woman a few seconds before she realized where this was going. Yugao was an intelligent woman too, having joined Anbu when she was just a child, and easily put two and two together alongside her fellow kunoichi. You're thinking about teaching him some kenjutsu, aren't you? It wasn't uncommon to see futon and katon techniques being used alongside kenjutsu. Futon could be used to increase the cutting power of swords and create vacuum blades that extended their range, while katon made the blade hot enough to cut through armor or weapons, as if they were warm butter. Hayate nodded. The man was one of the very few practitioners of the Konoha Ryu Kenjutsu, Konoha-style sword techniques, and likely the only one whose level was advanced enough to teach others. This made things difficult since, except for the basics, Kenjutsu techniques, much like other unique or significant ninja skills, in a ninja village were rarely passed down in a written format for security purposes. Doing it orally had its faults, but there was less of a chance of another village learning them, or developing counters that way. The Konoha Ryu Kenjutsu was unique to Konoha, and not to be looked down upon given its origin, and when mixed with Hayate's own flair and prodigious skills in Kenjutsu, the style had even more effective techniques added to it. Hayate had been looking to pass down what he knew to someone who could use the techniques to their fullest potential. Yugao knew some, but her duties as an Anbu, and him as a special jonin, made it challenging. Passing them down was easier, said, given the requirements needed to use some of the techniques, and most would-be ninja in Konoha weren't disciplined enough, or preferred using and learning ninjutsu or taijutsu, than learn the art of the sword. The amount of Konoha Ryu Kenjutsu practitioners in the village are becoming fewer and fewer in number, Anko, Hayate muttered. If this goes on, it'll only be a matter of time before only the basics remain, and everything else becomes a forgotten art. Anko didn't need to ask since she knew some of the Konoha Ryu techniques. Unless they had their own sword style or knew some bukijutsu, it had been made mandatory in Konoha that once a ninja was promoted to chunin or Anbu, they were required to learn the basics and be proficient at an acceptable level, but no more than that. Yugao understood why he was so passionate about the matter. The woman herself was a practitioner, but she and others had to learn from Hayate instead, from another Anbu superior. It was one of the reasons why they fell in love with one another. That and their love of Kenjutsu and the amount of time they spent together. Both were prodigies in Kenjutsu, and while Hayate was currently the better of the two in terms of skill, Yugao was ultimately the stronger of the two, a fact that Hayate wasn't ashamed to freely admit. I know, Hayate, I know the small amount of practitioners was a combination of some dying, either of old age or in the field, or having no students or any interested in learning the art. You know, nothing is set in stone, right? I can ask him, but ultimately, it's up to the Gaki, Anko told him. He's gotten better, but what makes you think he has the discipline to learn Kenjutsu? It ain't for everyone, you know. I know, but for some reason I have a feeling about this kid. He survived 3 weeks of training from Anko Mitarashi herself, the queen sadist of Konoha's torture and interrogation division. Yugao chuckled at that, and Anko puffed her chest out with pride. The sadistic woman had taken a liking to that particular title, even saying they should bow in her presence as a joke sometimes. If he can handle that, then maybe he has what it takes to learn this Kenjutsu and make it great again. It was a gamble. There was a chance it wouldn't work, or Naruto not be interested, but at this point he was willing to risk it. If Konoha Academy students saw the dead last used the Konoha Ryu Kenjutsu to great effect and how strong he was, it would drive many to start learning it themselves. It wasn't perfect, and he knew some wouldn't go far in it, but it was a step in getting a once-renowned art back in the spotlight. Yugao merely sighed. She knew that once Hayate got like this, he was determined to see it through. Besides, if that kid gets better at it, he can teach other generations too. There was a hint of remorse in his voice as he said this, and Anko winced, as she knew what he was talking about. As the years passed by for the couple, the prospect of having children had often made its way into the conversation. Anko herself hadn't cared for the whole becoming a mother lifestyle like some of her female friends, but that was their decision. During the era of warring states, shinobi often married in secret with few knowing, even the truly powerful, and had children at a young age, a practice that was still used to this day because a ninja's hazardous lifestyle often led to a reduced lifespan. It was much higher than what it used to be in the era of warring states, but still low compared to ordinary civilians. It was only until recently that both discovered having a child would be difficult. Both were young, still in their early 20s, but each suffered from medical conditions. Yugao had a condition that while carrying a child would not be a problem, getting pregnant due to not being very fertile was. She was still capable of becoming a mother, but the chances were low compared to most women. In Hayate's case, it was similar. His chronic cough and somewhat sickly appearance compared to when he was younger were the result of a poisonous gas, one that Anko had found impressive during an ambush some years back. Of the ninja that went on that mission, Hayate was one of the lucky few that managed to live to tell the tale. Being one of Konoha's best when it came to poisons, having been trained by the best, Anko and other medics managed to make an antidote in case it was ever used again, and those that managed to escape recovered. Unlike the others who made full recoveries, Hayate, unfortunately, had been left with some ill side effects that were beyond the medics or Anko's ability to remedy. By the time a cure was found, the illness had progressed too far to do anything more than stop it from spreading any further instead of reversing the symptoms. Though lucky to be alive, the man was left with a chronic cough from a damaged lung. Thankfully, he had no fear of it turning malignant, and it was doable to live with. The man having developed a way to stop the coughing when he needed to too. It was minor, really. The other effects hadn't been discovered until later. One being the poison greatly reduced his stamina, muscle strength, and speed to the point he needed to compensate by augmenting them with chakra, whereas before it was pure muscle work. It also impaired his ability to properly develop muscles and increase his chakra reserves. And lastly, it had greatly reduced the virility of his sperm. All in all, and while Hayate and Yugao hadn't lost hope, the chances of either of them conceiving a child with one another in the future was extremely low. The doctor stating that the chances of them getting pregnant being less than 13%. With medication and procedures, the chances were higher but still well below the norm. Hayate had no intention of seeing another woman. Yugao was the only one for him, and the fact that he may not have children to pass on his art made him feel empty. There was no doubt in his mind that both he and Yugao had every intention of teaching their children Kenjutsu. But at the moment, it wasn't happening anytime soon. At least with this kid, I can potentially pass it on. Maybe even have him teach my kids when I end up having some. While he could live to a ripe old age, few ninjas managed to live past their 40s, and Hayate was pretty much plateauing now in terms of strength. At least with Naruto and Yugao, he'd have two who could teach his children should he die. I'll talk to him and see if he's interested. You know there's the chance of him not wanting to learn Kenjutsu Hayate, Anko informed him once again, and the man chuckled. It was a possibility, but a low one. I know, but you and I both know how that kid goes on about wanting to be Hokage and becoming an awesome ninja. If I offered to teach him Kenjutsu, I doubt he'd die if I hesitate to learn. The woman had to concede with that point. It was common knowledge around the village how adamant Naruto was about being Hokage. Plus, it also gets Yugao and I free labor to take care of the house. He smirked and Anko laughed. At times she often forgot how cunning Hayate could be. Alright, I'll talk it over with him tomorrow morning before I leave for my mission. Just don't get your hopes up in case the Gaki doesn't want to learn, she informed him. That's fine, Hayate would be disappointed if it was the case, but could live with it. Now all they needed to do was see if Naruto would agree and plan accordingly. Flashback end. Soon after he was done did Naruto begin trailing behind Anko, as the both of them made their way towards who knows where. The distance between the training area and the new location only took them about 7 minutes using the shinobi way. Upon landing, Naruto was greeted by the sight of two individuals. One was a man with short brown hair, a palish complexion, and prominently dark shadows under his eyes. In Naruto's opinion, the man appeared ready to keel over at any point in time and released a dry cough, as though dust was caught in his throat, every now and then. Beside the man was a beautiful woman with long purple hair that looked very familiar. While Naruto pondered, Anko began giving the introductions. Yugao Hayate. This is Naruto. Gaki, these are... Neko-chan, Naruto declared as it finally dawned on him. Before Yugao had the opportunity to deny it, Anko interrupted her. You know her? Yeah, she's the only one I know with that hair color. And I might have pranked her place thinking she was a chunin. We're still cool on that, right? That was you! Anko looked bug-eyed. Oh man, that was freaking hilarious. It took her months to grow her hair back to that length. Eye twitching like mad, Yugao looked at Anko and said, Remind me to drill into that concrete skull of yours the discretion of secret identities. Ah, come off it, Yugi-chan. If a genin, and the former dead last at that, can figure it out so easily, what makes you think others haven't? Told you should have done something about your hair. Once again, Yugao's eye began twitching. As a principle, Ambu identities were kept secret, as they performed covert operations that could implicate a village's reputation. Those that didn't bother were the ones that were powerful enough to be marked as either flee on sight, like her former captain, Kakashi, or retired extremely dangerous, for those who no longer partook in active duty, but were still formidable nonetheless. Anyway, back to the intro. Gaki, you've already met Yugi-chan, aka Neko-chan, the purple-haired kunoichi, teased the Ambu operative, who looked ready to strangle the life out of Anko. Beside her is Hayate, aka Mr. Ballet Dancer. Now it was Hayate's turn to become annoyed. How many times do I have to ask you to stop calling me that? And how many times do I have to remind you that I will never stop calling you that? Anko countered with a cheeky grin. Sighing at her antics, Hayate came forward before he stood in front of Naruto. Despite appearing sick, Hayate's gaze was sharp and calculating like a hawk's, and Naruto felt almost naked in front of the man that looked him over from head to toe. Having finished his observations, Hayate commented, "A bit on the small side, isn't he?" Oi? Of all of the things he expected the man to say, Naruto hadn't expected the man to talk about his height. Being the smallest academy student in his class, mentioning Naruto's small stature while not a touchy subject, was something that irked him nonetheless. Yeah, he's a shorty. I mean, whatever's thrown at him has a better chance of missing, but that's only if he's up against a greenhorn or some unskilled individual. His diet and eating habits haven't been all that great, so I've been forcing him to cut down on the bad stuff. This coming from the woman who eats almost nothing but dango, Naruto declared. Anko shrugged, unbothered by the comment. So, my physical growth peaked a long time ago, and I'm pretty damn active. You're at that age where what you do and eat will have an impact on how tall you get. So, what if it means no ramen? You'll thank me later, Gaki. Naruto did nothing but grumble at that last bit. He had heard it many times before, but him being forced to give up his daily ramen was like a drug addict going cold turkey. Anko only let him have one large bowl a week. Worst yet, Anko had befriended Ayami enough to side with her on the matter. There were other ramen places and instant noodles, but they paled by comparison, and for Naruto it was Ichiraku, or nothing. You know that's not necessarily true, right? Yugao whispered in Anko's ear. I know, but he doesn't. Anko grinned, and Yugao smiled. Perhaps training the little troublemaker would be more fun than she initially assumed. Riveting as this is, I'd like to ask you a few questions before we begin, Hiei told Naruto. Okay. Shoot. Have you had any weapons training before? I used a pipe as a makeshift club. Does that count? Did I? You have any proper training on how to use it, or did you merely swing it around without any thought on the matter? Naruto's silence was all the information Hayat needed before he moved on to the next question. What's your dominant arm? My right arm, I guess. Truthfully, Naruto could use weapons in both hands well enough, but he had a preference for the right. You guess? I don't want guesses. I want certainty. Hayate asked him the same question once more. Frowning, Naruto said he handled a weapon well in both, but favored the right. You're somewhat ambidextrous. Good, Hayate made a note. For the next 20 minutes this continued, and Naruto was seriously starting to become more and more confused and even annoyed by the whole thing. And finally, why do you wish to learn swordsmanship? 'Cause I can learn how to wield a zanbato. Naruto's answer caught Yugao off guard, and Hayate cocked an eye. Zanbato. Why that particular sword? None ya business, pal. Look, I came here to learn swordsmanship, so I can defend myself, not to waste my time answering stupid questions. You want someone that will bust their ass off till they're dead and tired and still say I'm good and ready to go. I'm your ninja. I don't believe in the whole answering questions thing. Actions speak louder than words in my books. You give me a sword or whatever, and I guarantee you that I'll be kicking your ass sooner or later. You just watch, Naruto finished. Hayat, for his part, remained silent for a good minute before he looked at Anko. You're right. He does have a lot of piss and vinegar in him. Told ya, he'd do that. Pay up, Yugao groused as she handed over several bills in Anko's hand. What just happened? Naruto was confused. Rather than say anything, Hayate threw something at Naruto. The blonde was caught off guard and fumbled a bit with the object before he managed to catch it. What's this? A bakken, Hayate answered. You prove you have the bark for swordsmanship. Discipline is another matter, but that can be learned and beaten into even the thickest skulls. And trust me, I will beat it into your head, make no mistake of that. From the sidelines, the man's lover lowly muttered, He's not lying. Yugao still had phantom pains that liked to flare up on various parts of her body. Mostly the back of her head. The kunoichi remembered that even after they began to develop a mutual attraction to each other during her tutelage under Hayate, Yugao hadn't been spared the pain that came with it. Hayate was a harsh teacher when it came to kenjutsu, but his methods got excellent results from those who not only put in the time, but also put up with the pain associated with it. Muttering a quick wobserve onto the bakken, Naruto was pleasantly surprised by what he saw. Hayate's training, Bakken, uncommon quality. Item type, blunt weapon. Item modifier rank, star edu. Durability, 40/40. The Bakken is an edgeless sword made of durable wood that is used by many when training to become swordsmen. While lacking the ability to properly cut, and used primarily as a tool for training and performing exercises, the sword is still quite dangerous in hands of those who know how to use it. The quality of this Bakken surpasses ordinary ones due to Hayate's dedication in becoming a swordmaster. Attack. Power. 1926. Modifier 2A 3037. Bonus perks. Aspiring swordsman. Now then, the sword style I am about to teach you is called the Jinbuyo, Blade of the Dancing Leaf, more commonly known as the Konoha Kenjutsu Ryu. It was developed by Senju Tobarama and emphasizes speed, feints, and confusing your targets so you can expose and strike important areas of the body with incredible precision. These cuts can be used to swiftly kill an opponent or hamper them to the point that death will be imminent, Hayate informed him. Hayate quickly demonstrated this by instantly appearing in front of Naruto with his sword drawn, poised to sever the boy's jugular. Gah! Naruto shouted as his mind finally registered the danger he was in. Dead, Hayate informed the ninja in training. Your lessons from here on until I deem you ready will revolve around conditioning your body so it can move and react at incredible speeds. When will that be? Until you can block 2 consecutive strikes with me going at full speed. Here Naruto shouted out in pain as he felt his right leg begin to throb unpleasantly. What the hell? Pain is a good motivator, Naruto-san. And for the record, I just landed 3 blows on you. Check you arm and left leg, Hayate informed him. Though still ticked off at the action, Naruto did as Hayate asked, and sure enough did he see 2 cuts on his clothing. Never even felt a thing, and he's not even using a real sword. So, after experiencing a taste of it, are you still interested? Hayate asked him. The fighting style known as the Konoha Kenjutsu Ryu Novice has become available. Do you wish to learn it? Yes, no. Naruto didn't even think twice before he wholeheartedly accepted the fighting style that presented itself. Congratulations! You've learned the fighting style Konoha Kenjutsu Ryu Novice. Konoha Kenjutsu Ryu Novice. LV1, 0% to next. LV is sword style that allows the user to learn the novice-level sword techniques exclusive to the Konoha Kenjutsu Ryu. Once used and created by Senju Tobarama, this sword style places a high emphasis on speed and deceit in order to properly utilize its techniques in order to land critical or life-ending blows. The current level of the sword style mainly focuses on honing one's speed and reflexes. Passively increases movement speed and evasion by 1%. Passively increases the striking speed of bladed weapons by 1%. Passively increases the critical hit rate of bladed weapons by 1%. Be grateful Hayate's not the Naidandaki. During his time, Senju Tobarama was not only recorded as the fastest ninja in Konoha, but the world too. The Naidame was said to be capable of landing 9 strikes simultaneously when he went all out. Few have come close to performing that. The only ninja that's said to surpass him in terms of speed was Yondaime-sama, and even that's a topic for debate. Comparing one Kage's feat to another usually was, especially when one side favored the other, and said Kage's feats were either exaggerated upon or not fully understood. It's true. Naidame-sama based this sword style on a forgotten fighting style that was categorized in the Black Ships of the Land. Hayate told him, "The Black Ships of the Land. What's that?" Naruto wondered what that meant. Part legend, myth, and truth. During the era of warring states, the Black Ships of the Land are what many called fighting styles that offered such tremendous power to its user that a master of them could secure near absolute victory for whichever side possessed one in a conflict. The only ones I know of are the sword styles that were held by the samurai back when they were a dominant superpower. The heightened Mitsurugi-ryu, Flying Heaven Honorable Sword style, the Tengu no Oroshi Ryu, Heavenly Dog's Katabanic Wind style, Nighten no Ichi-ryu, Two Heavens as One style, and the Santoryu, Three Sword style. Santoryu. How did that work? No idea. However, if the tales about it are anything to go by, I'm pretty sure that last one is more fiction than fact, to be honest. But enough talk. Shall we begin? Naruto was smart enough to know it was a rhetorical question. Hours later. Ow! 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 Wow! Naruto grimaced, whilst Anko grinned. You're pure evil. You know that, right? The blonde winced once again, as he took another step. I try, Anko continued, smirking. If it makes you feel any better, Yugao said you showed promise. She did. Didn't really feel like it. Naruto groused and winced once more. Hayate wouldn't have continued training you if you didn't. Don't get me wrong, Gaki. You suck balls at Kenjutsu. You suck elephant-sized testes for sure, but Konoha wasn't built in a... Given how powerful Hashirama was, she wouldn't doubt it if his wood release did manage to build Konoha in a day. Okay, bad analogy. But you get where I'm going with this, right? Yeah, I suck according to you. His eye twitched as a spasm shot through his spine. For now, yeah. You're no prodigy, Naruto. Accept it and get used to it. Anko decided to throw the boy a bone. Life's not fair. Trust me, I should know. But it doesn't mean you can't do something about it. Train your heart out. Break through walls like no tomorrow, but accept the fact that there are just some things you can't control. Or change no matter how hard you sweat. Bleed or break your bones over. Madoge sucked at taijutsu when he was your age, almost as bad you are now with kenjutsu. And now he's Konoha's #1 go-to guy when it comes to taijutsu. Why are you telling me this? Naruto couldn't help asking. Don't get me wrong, I'm grateful. Really? Pretty sure it doesn't sound like it, Anko countered but snorted to stop Naruto's parry. I'm kidding, Gaki. I get it. Truth is, I like you. That's why I'm telling you. You've earned my trust, but don't push it. Congratulations! Your reputation level with Mitarashi Anko has increased to a like A. You have unlocked the necessary requirements to activate the quest. A trust earned quest. Anko. Trust earned quest. Anko. Main quest. Earn Anko's trust even further by increasing your reputation level to a friendly with her. Main quest completion. 10,500 XP. 2. Attribute points. Character Anko. History revealed. Failure. 350 XP. Character Rancone history not revealed. Accept. Yes, no. Congratulations! You've completed the challenge, I like you. You have unlocked the challenges, she really like you, and well like you. I like you. Challenge. Increase your reputation level with one person to Eli Kerate accomplished. Challenge reward. 1000 XP. I really like you. Challenge. Increase your reputation level with one person to a friendly. Challenge reward. 2500 XP. Well, like. Challenge. Increase your reputation level with 5 individuals to Eli Keed. Challenge reward. 6500 XP. Congratulations, your level has increased by 1. Name. Uzumaki. Naruto. Job. Academy student. Level. 15. Next level. 27. 10,800. HP. 5,075. 350 EU. 5,425. CP. 8,900. I'm 625. II. Chakra affinity. Basic rank. To 10,001.25. Star. 23. 2. 23. Vit. 147 Tune 10 157. End 207 Chi 15 222. Dex 43 11 Do 44. Int 39 39. Wis 16 2 16. Cha 10 10 10. Luke Def 23 23. Attribute points 21. Ordinary perk points 1. Congratulations! Due to passing the 150 point mark on VIT, you've gained the perk of Vigor Affinity, basic rank. Adamant, Vigor, basic rank. HP Reagan increased by 5%. Total HP increased by 5%. Physical damage taken decreased by 5%. Fatigue. Levels gains decreased 5%. Tolerances increased by 5%. Congratulations! You are now level 15. New boons and options have become available to you. You have received the E-Bronze Abyss Auction House membership card and Yabis Auction House's Bronze Coupon. Bronze Abyss Auction House membership card. A special card that allows you to use the Kabis Auction House window skill, where you can buy, sell, or even acquire services so long as the price is right. Your current membership is at the basic level, as such the guild's full cut of the profits earned and services rendered will not be discounted, and you only have access to the most basic of services and information. The more you use the guild, the closer you get to upgrade your membership, and the greater the boons you will receive. Special note: items of higher quality that sell well will enable you to upgrade to a higher form of membership much more quickly. Any items authenticated as fake or junk by the guild will result in penalties such as loss of points and even a reduced membership level. Abyss Auction House's Bronze Coupon. Item type: Special Merchant Item. Durability: One-time use. Description: an item that is used to buy 2C rank item at a discount price of 35% or 3D rank items at 60%. Item is only usable with the Abyss Auction House. Abyss Auction House Window Skill, LV Max. A unique skill available only to the holder of the Yigamer perk that enables them to use the services of the Abyss Auction House anywhere in the world, rather than through a medium such as a computer. The skill functions in a manner similar to the status window, where it pops up upon being called and items from the inventory box can be transferred. Money will then be transferred, minus the guild's cut, after the items are verified by the guild. 17.5% interest on items sold. No. Discount on services and information. Guess that means I can spare the Bakken. While the zombies didn't give much experience nowadays, the money drops had improved a tiny bit, due to the bonus granted by his weapon and his recently acquired Expert Zombie Slayer title. But what the hell is reputation anyway? Like before, his question was answered via pop-up. Reputation. Reputation plays an important factor in the world. The more well-liked you are with a faction, the more benefits and easier time you will likely have with them, such as discounts, missions, etc. In contrast, being hated with said faction will have the opposite effect. Reputation also plays a major role in future events that can and may not occur, so make your choices carefully. However, the world is an imperfect place, so any good you perform with one group can still result in a negative reputation with another. Negative reputation. There are 3 levels of negative reputation: abhorred, hostile, and disliked. In this category, your chances of working well with others are very low, and the likelihood of being betrayed or attacked increases the lower your reputation score is with them. Be cautious around these types of individuals, as you may find yourself with a weapon in your back, or worse. Neutral reputation. Not everyone hates you, but that doesn't necessarily mean they like you either. This faction doesn't know you or could care less about you, so your chances of becoming friends or enemies can go either way, depending on what you do. Positive reputation. There are 3 levels of positive reputation: liked, friendly, and cherished. In this category, your chances of working well with others are very high, and the likelihood of being betrayed or attacked decreases the higher your reputation score is with them. Working with them is like having someone who is willing to risk their life for yours and can be trusted to have your back through thick and thin. Note: while it doesn't happen for all of them, depending on the individual, this form of reputation can evolve even further as a result in finding a special someone. Thank you, Pop-Up, Naruto thought. Gaki! Gah, the hell was that for? Other than me enjoying screwing with you, I've been trying to get your attention for the last 2 minutes. Anko responded. Oh, sorry, was distracted. Were the wrong words to say in Anko's books. You know the rules, Gaki, Naruto groaned. He did know them. He had no choice, really. One of the many rules of being a ninja: never become distracted. A distracted shinobi was an ill-prepared or dead shinobi. The only exception was when one was pretending to be distracted. But Naruto hadn't done the latter, and Anko had stressed many times that if she caught him distracted, that he was going to pay for it. Luckily for you, while you were off Kami knows where, I was told something came up and I've been asked to come in. You're off the hook for now, she finished with a grin that made his spine tingle. See ya when I see ya, she said, and then disappeared in a whirl of leaves and dust. Guess that means I have the rest of the day off. Neither Hayat nor Yugao had any chores for him to do today, so that was a plus. Plus, with him leveling up, his fatigue, CP, and HP levels had reset to normal, so it left him ready to go. Naruto might think it unfair for others, but so what? Ninja didn't play fair and took advantage of whatever gifts they possessed. Guess I can go to the training field dungeons, but first Naruto decided to test out the Kabis auction house window skill. After calling it up, Naruto began to browse through some weapons and items that might aid him. There was just one big problem he hadn't counted on. Holy crap! The boy cursed that pretty much everything he wanted was expensive to the extreme. Skill scrolls? Ninjutsu, Genjutsu, Tai Jutsu, Bukijutsu, Profession. D rank 10,000. Ryo 29,1999. Ryo C rank 30,000. Ryo 99,1999. Ryo B rank 100,000. Ryo 99,1999. A rank 1 million. Ryo 9,999,1999. Ryo S rank 10 million. Ryo. The Abyss auction house apparently dealt in quality goods, only so everything being sold was ranked as common or higher. But even then, the lowest price for a technique was listed at 10,000 Ryo. From grinding in the zombie dungeons, Naruto currently held close to 74,137. Even if he got the lower tier stuff ranked at uncommon, it would take more than 2/3 of that away after buying 1 or 2. I knew it was too good to be true, Naruto groused. Overpowered as it was, Naruto was starting to realize that even the Agamura ability operated on the grounds of reality at times. How much does this stuff go for? Here he shifted the items he had acquired from the zombie dungeon into the Abyss auction house screen. Following items are being appraised. Zombie Rib X98. Basic Grade Armor, Acid X21. Rotten Flesh X31. Unstable Cocktail X6. Basic Grade Health Potion X8. Appraisal commencing. Appraisal complete.
Zombie Rib X98, 54 Ryo equals 5,292 Ryo.
Basic Grade Armor Acid X21 F560 Ryo. 760 Ryo 2A. Rotten Flesh X 31 0 Ryo Ducad 0. Unstable Cocktail X6 15 Team 1500 Ryo UK 9000. Basic Grade Health Potion X7 10,000 Ryo. Tuchio 770,000 Ryo. Total Potential Worth 796,052 Rio 17% interest. QA 656,742.9 Rio. Special note: while the appraisal function of the EBIS auction house window gives you an idea of what the items are worth, the rules of supply and demand play a factor as well. Ultimately, the price of the items that you put up for sale is up to you, and you alone. Supply and demand. The concept was foreign to Naruto, as none of the video games he played ever really dealt with that. However, the concept of an auction house in video games was something he was familiar to. Rare or unique items generally went for a lot of money that many charged well over the listing price, since they couldn't be found quite easily. The potion's price is nuts, Naruto muttered with excitement. He had expected them to be worth something, but well over 100,000. Ryo was insane. Then again, it does restore 30% of my health in an instant. Having been to the hospital, Naruto knew that medical ninjutsu was not a quick process. Nor was it a skill just anyone could learn, because of how finely tuned one's chakra control had to be without posing a risk. The potion more or less made the need to learn medical ninjutsu obsolete. Naruto actually had money signs in his eyes as he realized that future dungeons would likely have stronger versions of the stuff, too. I'm rich. His grin threatened to split his face in two. While he had no intention of selling all of them, 4 or 5 at most, given he had only been able to find 3 more despite entering the zombie dungeon over a dozen times, the money he'd earned from the potions would enable him to afford some of the more expensive of items. Putting that plan into action, Naruto placed the other items he had gathered, keeping a few on hand to be safe, and 5 of his potions into the auction window with increased prices. Following items are being auctioned: Zombie Rib, Axe, 98, Fenter price per unit. Basic Grade, Armor, Acid X, 16, Fenter price per unit. Unstable Cocktail, X2, Winter price per unit. Basic Grade Health Potion, X5, Twenter price per unit. Auctioning commencing. Auctioning complete. Zombie Rib X, 98, Tiche 59, Ryo, Calcu 5017A2. Ryo. Basic Grade Armor Acid X 16 729, Ryo Chuchu Alel, 1664, Ryo. Unstable Cocktail X2 T 2100, Ryo Chuki 4200 Ryo. Basic Grade Health Potion X5 145,000, Ryo Jue 725,000 Ryo. Total Potential Worth 746,646 Rio 17.5% interest. QA 615,980.95 Ryo. You have successfully created an auction. Items and payment of items will be held in trust for a period of 48 hours for authentication. Of course they will, Naruto muttered. Naruto wanted money now, but soon realized that couldn't take the items back either without suffering a penalty. Ah, perfect. Putting the thought aside for now, Naruto browsed through the ninjutsu's C-rank section to find anything of value. Naturally, the C-rank techniques cost more than a pretty Ryo bill, but some of them were very appealing nonetheless. Ninpo. Shakura Nagashi, Ninja Art, Chakra Flow, Suton. Teppadama, Water Release. Gunshot, Futon. Rapusho. Wind Release, Violent Gale Palm. Ninja Art, Hail of Carnage. Doton, Doran Earth Release. Earth Riot. Reitan Senko Retsu, lightning release, light spear rendering tech. While he could afford them, Naruto had no intention of spending money on techniques that would become accessible to him in the Konoha archives once he graduated. At the same time, he didn't want to forgo techniques that could prove essential early on, nor their upgraded versions down the line. Chakra Nagashi is a weapon booster. Hayate or Anko would probably teach him the skill if asked, so he put that in the no pile along with Teppodamanag and Hail of Carnage. Naruto meant no offense to the former technique's creator, despite its potential for crushing bones when mastered, but the whole concept sounded like him hawking one big giant loogie. The latter one sounded cool as hell for its destructive properties, especially for mere shuriken. Unluckily for him, it required knowing a prerequisite skill that Naruto currently lacked. Repusho was a maybe given it was a wind technique, and the fact that wind-based techniques were scarce outside of K's no Kuni was a bonus. But as it was mainly a weapon buffer that accelerated the speed and force of thrown weapons like shuriken, it too was currently placed in the maybe pile. On its own, it merely stopped and stunned its targets, but that was at the maximum level. It was a decent beginner technique nonetheless in Naruto's opinion, as he already thought of a few creative uses for it. Earth Riot was a sneak-based attack that caused thrown-up rocks to become enlarged and dagger-like, or caused small stalagmite spears to suddenly sprout out from the ground. The downside was that it was only really effective at short range, but Naruto had no problem getting in close and personal. Shadow Firen was a unique fire technique that shot watermelon-sized fireballs that would suddenly take the shape of a nightmarish yokai when it got close to the intended target. This had a chance to cause fear-based status effects, even more on those they hit, and had a chance to light them on fire, and the distraction making the target more susceptible to critical hits. The only downside was that it was not easy to master, required a decent amount of control, and at 68,000 Ryo, it was the most expensive of the 6 skills. Thank Kami for coupons. Naruto grinned and made his choice. Selecting both Shadow Firen and Earth Riot, and applying the coupon he had just received, Naruto paid a total of 73,450 Ryo, effectively wiping out all but 687 Ryo. Thank you for your patronage. Your current upgrade progress has increased to 7.9%, 100%. Please allow for your payment to be processed. Payment. Payment processing complete. Your payment has been approved. Please wait for your items to appear. Naruto didn't have to wait very long, as a box suddenly materialized in front of him. The container looked like a present, with the box being gift, wrapped and tied up with a bow ribbon. The blonde didn't have to rip into it, however, as the lid slid off quite easily. Neatly organized within its contents were 2 scrolls, one blue, one red, color-coded. Neat. Taking both of them, Naruto agreed to learning the 2 techniques and watched as both dematerialized into nothingness. Congratulations! You've learned the Okatan, Inka no Jutsu, Fire Release, Shadow Fire Technique, O and the Udaton, Doran, Earth Release, Earth Riot, Skills, Katon, Inka no Jutsu, Fire Release, Shadow Fire Technique, OV1, 0% to next, LV Skill Modifier, End Na Echa, Che Mastering Speed, D, a fire-based skill that launches large balls of fire that has the chance to not only set its targets on fire, but also put them into a state of fear that makes them more susceptible to attacks. CP usage, 355, Affinity Bonus, Perks, Ichike, 301.75. CP. Launches 1 fireball per use. Damage, 88, 101. Modifier, Affinity Bonus. Perks, Ichiwa 165.74. 180.75 per fireball. Success rate to cause a burning status effect, 11%, End 25. Affinity bonus perks, caster level, victim level, victims, Vit, at 20. Success rate to cause stunned status effect, 31%, Cha Hoen, and age 25. Affinity, bonus perks. Caster level, victim level, victims, Wisnon moi. Success rate to cause unconscious status effect, 1%, Cho 1, and AN 25. Affinity bonus perks. Caster level, victim level, victims, Wisnon way. Success rate to cause hysteria status effect, EE, 31%, Che 1, and on 25. Affinity, bonus perks, caster level, victim level, victims, Wiz on 1. Range, 10 meters. Doton, Doran, Earth release, Earth riot, all Vive 10% to next. Skill modifier, and Cha D. Mastering speed. D. A close-range Earth-based technique that can work in two ways. Transform kicked-up rocks into dagger-sized stone knives that can cause bleeding, or sprout stalagmites from the ground that have the potential to impair its victim's ability to walk or run, or skewer charging foes unexpectedly. CP usage, 245. Perks, away, 232.75. CP. Launches 1 stone dagger per use. Dagger form damage, 44.55. Modifier. Perks, UA 62.75, 174.3 per dagger. Stalagmite. Form damage, 121, 137. Modifier. Perks, 243.6, 260.4. Success rate to cause a bleeding status effect, 11%, and aging 5. Perks. Caster level, victim level, victims, Success rate to cause SLO status effect, 11%, and age found 5. Perks. Caster level, victim level, victims, Vit 1. Success rate to cause Immobileo status effect, ED 31%, and ON 5. Perks. Caster level, victim level, victims, Vit YO. Range, 1 meter. Finally, having some decent techniques in his arsenal, despite his wallet being many times lighter now, Naruto proceeded to speed from rooftop to rooftop until he arrived at the first natural dungeon. Walking up to it with purpose, Naruto watched as a message popped up in front of him. Would you like to enter the natural dungeon training area 1 on? Yes. No. No. Hesitation was displayed the moment Naruto's finger pressed on the yes option. A flash of light soon blinded his vision, and Naruto found himself eagerly awaiting the challenge that would present itself. Thank you all. Chapter 7. A pain in the tuchus. As the light died down, Naruto noted that the area was more forest than anything else compared to the original Imagine outside the dungeon. While this gave him ample areas to use for ambushes and to observe his foes from a safe distance, it also worked both ways. Okay, so what kind of enemies do we have here? If Naruto had been hoping saying, "Those words would reveal," said enemy, he was sorely disappointed when nothing made itself known. Sighing, the young ninja in training took it as a cue to start exploring the area, and began to use Observe on whatever potential resource the dungeon would provide him with. Nothing, nothing, more nothing. There was the odd items such as honeybee honey, minor grade green herbs, and a minor grade wild mushroom, but those were used more as ingredients for cooking or creating medicine. Naruto collected them all the same. If anything, he could sum to improve his e-cooking skill and e-trapping skills, or sell them. Hearing some rustling nearby, Naruto quickly jumped onto the nearest branch and took cover in the trees. From his vantage point, the blonde watched as a boar came snorting out from the bushes. The hog was huge. Naruto had seen their carcasses hung up in the market from time to time, and this pig was easily a foot taller and almost 2 feet longer. Wild boar, LV 12. HP, 1050. CP 300. Star 26. Vit 36. End 12. Dex 27. Int 3. Wis 3. Cha 5. Luke 4. Defense 25. Specialization none. Special perks none. Perks hard-headed LV 1. 25% resistance towards Uda days. Related status effects 25% effectiveness and power towards end-head-based skills. Tenacious ignores negative psychological related status effects such as hysteria or frightened when health drops below 30%. 30% towards movement speed and power when below 30%. Health tough hide LV1 150 HP 15-1. Defense 15% towards Yutai Jutsu resistance, G-bladed weapons resistance, and blunt weapons resistance. 15% towards earth resistance and water resistance, and bleeding resistance. Keen senses LV3 65% effectiveness towards U detection skill. 45% effectiveness towards enemy Ohange skill. Flaws. Description: just a very large boar is what many adventurers would think right before they find themselves gored or trampled on. These boars will charge at anything except its own kind and are tenacious combatants that will continue to fight even when on the brink of death and will even ignore serious wounds. Despite its size and build, they can close in on ill-prepared prey with a remarkable burst of speed. Exp earned 155 10% Q1 170.5. Drops. Snort, snort, boo-hee. Ah, crap! Naruto cursed as the boar shot towards his location with remarkable speeds and smashed right into the base of the tree. The tree wasn't uprooted, but it sure as hell shook and swayed back and forth. Naruto held firm, though, despite the severe imbalance in his legs. "That's gonna hurt," was his mental note. The boar butted its head against the tree once more, but lacked the same force as before. Jumping to another nearby tree whilst it was distracted with this one, Naruto put one of his newest techniques to the test. Katan, Inka no Jutsu, Fire Release, Shadow Fire Technique? From his lips came a fireball almost twice as big as Naruto's head that shifted into a gnarling demonic head, and for a brief moment, Naruto swore the fireball had become fox-like. The boar, however, remained steadfast in bashing its current tree, and didn't know what hit it before it was too late. While the psychological effects didn't take hold, as a result of its distraction, the damage it took was even more formidable, given it was caught off guard. Naruto watched as the boar suddenly became frozen before it fell to the ground like a boned fish. Huh? Hysteria status effect. Failed. Unconscious status effect. Succeeded. Naruto merely grinned, happy he had chosen such a technique. While the CP cost was high even with his affinity bonus, his perks allowed him a large pool of chakra compared to others. He had tons to spam the hell out of the technique. With the beast immobile and a prime target, Naruto summoned forth the other newest technique from his arsenal. Daton. Doran. Earth Release. Earth Riot. Spears of earth shot from the ground and skewered the downed beast with relative ease. As a result of the unconscious status effect, the technique resulted in a critical hit that rendered much of its health well below the halfway mark, even with the perk giving it a higher tolerance to earth-based skills. Bleeding status effect. Succeeded. Slow status effect. Failed. Happy that the beast's life was coming to an end, Naruto forgot to consider that the technique also roused the large boar from its unwanted beauty nap. For such a large animal, it rose pretty quickly, and Naruto was grazed and unprepared by its sudden and unexpected charge. Damn! Naruto dodged once more as the wild pig came snorting, squealing, and charging at him with a vengeance. He had expected an increase in speed, but not to this extent. Even with his dex being higher than the boar's by 20 points, Naruto found himself just barely dodging the creature. Suddenly and unexpectedly did Naruto sense a feeling of foreboding course through his head, and the ninja in training watched as a pop appeared before him. Negative intent detected. Distance, 4 meters. Naruto didn't think about, he just acted on instinct. He jumped and used the charging boar's back as a springboard and grabbed onto the branch of a nearby tree. Naruto was forced to hold on for dear life as he felt not 1, not 2, or even 3, but 4 jarring blows impact the perennial plant that shook as though it were made of rubber. Great. Back up, another blow struck, and Naruto reinforced his grip on the branch by locking his legs in place. The branch was too high up for him to be reached by the boars, but at the same time none of the ornery bastards gave up their pursuit, so he couldn't pull himself up without losing his balance. Their lack of intelligence prevented them from coming up with any truly effective strategy, so they continued their efforts in bashing the tree with all they had. Summoning his weapon Shishoyo, Holy Brand, Naruto released his hold on the branch but kept a firm grip on it with his legs to remain out of harm's way. The gamer shouted out the weapon's innate skill, Kairu, brilliance, and timed it just as the boars charged once more. Naruto cursed when none of the boars were affected by the U-stunned status effect as he had hoped. Then again, the chances of success were higher in darkened and enclosed areas compared to sun-filled open ones. While Naruto tried figuring out another approach, he watched as several black dots fall to ground and remained motionless. Looking up, Naruto spotted an object dangle above him, and after straining his ears, he began to hear an odd buzzing sound. Straining his eyes, the upside-down blonde saw that it was a very large beehive, at least a dozen feet above him. That'll work, he smirked, took aim, not easy with his current position and the tree shaking, and then threw a handful of shuriken at the hive. As predicted, most veered off course, thanks to the boars, and became embedded into the wood, or flew Kami knows where, but one struck true and caused the dome-shaped nest to fall, hitting a branch once before it fell to the ground near the boars. The wild pigs halted their assault and began to snort and squeal as the angry insects swarmed their bodies with deadly bites and stingers. Unfortunately for Naruto, he was also put at the mercies of the angry honeymakers. Ouch! Ack! Bee! Throat! Stings! Naruto spat out the unforgiving little shit and swatted away the small swarm that tried covering him in a painful cloak. Their stingers did imperceptible damage, but their efforts annoyed and distracted him nonetheless. Having enough of them, Naruto pulled himself up as quickly as he could and jumped a safe distance away to another tree. Naruto's quick thinking likely saved him from losing a large amount of health, as the tree he previously stood on came crashing down with a loud thud. 2 of the boars were injured by the fallen tree. One was crushed and more or less flattened into Shagyaki. The remaining boars made a hasty retreat, but one wasn't so fortunate the instant a meaty claw sent it soaring into the air and crashing into the ground a sizable distance away. Her. Honey Bear, LV 18. HP, 1475. CP, 475. Star, 53. Vit, 47. End, 19. Dex, 37. Int, 5. Wis, 6. Cha, 7. Look, 16. Defense, 30. Specialization, none. Special perks, Hibernator. Recover, 30% HP and negative status effects vanish when resting outside of combat after 10 minutes. Perks, Honey-loving Berserker, 35% effectiveness, speed, and power towards Utaijutsu skill, 15% chances towards critical hits, Regen status effect, activated upon consuming honey. Related items: Heavy Hitter, LV2, 40% effectiveness and power towards Utaijutsu skill, 20% chance of causing Audiday status effect, 20% chance of causing E-bleeding status effect. Tough hide, LV2 down, 300 HP, 25. Defense, 20% towards U-taijutsu resistance, E-bladed weapons resistance, and blunt weapons resistance, 20% towards Shirth resist. LV2 down, 300 HP, 25. Defense, 20% towards U-taijutsu resistance, E-bladed weapons resistance, and blunt weapons resistance, 20% towards Shirth resistance and water resistance, and bleeding resistance. Keen senses. LV3, 65% effectiveness towards U-detect presence skill, 45% effectiveness towards enemy and henge skill. Flaws. Description. Honey bears are animals with a voracious appetite, especially when it comes to honey, and will chase down anyone in possession of their favorite treat. Their strong forearms enable them to swat aside most creatures with barely any thought, and their sharp claws can shred skin, muscle, and organs from another's body as though they weren't there to begin with. Exp earned 297 10%, 222, 326.7. Drops. Rrrr. Uh-oh, Naruto cursed and then shook his head. Come on, Naruto. It's just a bear. It's slow and big, and it's almost on me. Ah! And then screamed when the bear spotted and came charging towards him. Tea room. Walking out of the cell that she had been in, Anko closed the door behind her and left the quivering mess that was the newcomer alone. Well, that was boring, the sadist muttered as she headed to Ibiki's office to hand in her report. When Anko had been called in from work to break someone in, she had thought it to be because only she could do it. She was giddy at the prospect. Anko loved breaking in the new tenants, especially the tough ones, since it made her happy to meet someone like this, and then turn them into sobbing crybabies who wanted to see their mommies. This didn't turn out to be the case, however, as the man had been readily forthcoming with the intel he possessed, and didn't even put up a challenge. Oh, sure, the victim had looked impassive at first, but Anko knew he was merely putting up a brave mask. The man barely lasted 5 minutes by the time she was done with him. Entering Ibiki's office, the woman slammed her hand down on his desk to get his attention. Anko, the head of the torture and interrogation division, greeted his subordinate without looking up from his paperwork. Ibiki was used to her antics by now. What the hell was that? A pissed. Anko growled. What was what? Ibiki already knew. His words only served to add fuel to the fire. You damn well know what, Ibiki. Anko nearly shouted. I'm on my day off and you call me in for this. You know the rules. Anko don't do weak-ass pansies. Leave it for the new recruits. Kami knows they need the experience. I would have if we weren't short-handed at the moment. Anko, her Ibiki gave her a look. And as for the trainees doing this sort of thing, you're partially to blame for that. A lot of them decided to quit when I asked you to show them the ropes. Long story short, over 70% of the new recruits switched to a different division because of that. Short-handed as they were at the time, Ibiki realized it had not been one of his smartest moves. The man acknowledged that when it came to teaching others, Anko's methods were unique but effective to say the least. However, not everyone had the stomach or mental fortitude to survive it. In hindsight, he knew he should have waited until another operative was available, even though so few were qualified to teach, and many that were currently busy with other important duties such as in-field interrogation in enemy territory. Adding to the fact that the woman was his most skilled interrogator, outdone only by himself and Yamanaka Inuichi, while not the most suited to teach in a standard format, she had a lot of experience and knowledge. Won't make that mistake twice, the master of torture and psychological warfare thought. Anko was his friend, one of the rare few she had, one of the rare few he had too, given his grizzled looks and reputation. But even she was a bit much for him at times. Hey, if they can't handle or stomach the shit we do here, then they got no right to be here in the first place. Take your bitching and moaning somewhere else is my motto, Anko retorted. I thought your motto was Dango is heaven's gift upon mankind. I can have more than one motto. There was no law against it. Ibiki decided not to pry even or wish to know really and returned to the topic at hand. You know there's a little thing called easing them into it, right? Whatever, she muttered. Trial by fire will get 'em there quicker. And anyhow, why didn't you have the asshole who messed up my interrogation do it? The answer to that was an easy one. Fired him. And from what I heard, he got himself into one of the field position forces. That said, he's gotta do demeaning tasks such as cleaning the Inuzuka kennels for a whole month as punishment. As much as I don't care for your methods at times, I lack tolerance for insubordination even less. Especially from some greenhorn hotshot who thinks he knows more about interrogation than all our veterans combined. He fucked up, and now we have to start from scratch all over again. Ibiki thought the man was lucky he was only demoted to Chunin considering he cost them very important intel. Now he knew he was on thin ice. Back in Senju, Tobirama's day as Hokage, the man would have either been stripped of his rank as a ninja or potentially executed because of how critical the information was. Explains why I didn't see him this morning. Lucky him. Anko swore she'd give the man a piece of her mind when she saw him again, and it looks like she'd have to wait a while. She didn't envy him either, as cleaning the Inuzuka kennels was not only genin fodder missions, but also one of the worst ones too. She only ever did it once as a genin because she did something stupid, and her former teacher saw fit to punish her. Even back then, the man was sadistic bastard. Anyway, what have you got for me? Anything of value? Nothing all that important. The guy's nothing more than a bandit from a small gang. Robbed and killed a few people here, terrorized a village or two there, but he and his buddies are no one important. Just some unnoteworthy pricks terrorizing merchants and whatnot. The usual stuff, a bored Anko explained. Oh, and something about him accidentally overhearing when their next move was gonna be. You could have just said that part, you know, Ibiki deadpanned. Still pissed, Ibiki, Anko dismissed it and then told him where the gang was going to attack next. If you need me, I'll be getting some R, and by need me, I mean it better be worth my fucking time. Heard you the first time, Anko. Ibiki got the idea and waved her off. Before you go, Hokage-sama said he wanted me to remind you that you're to meet him tomorrow morning at 9. Great, Anko drawled. As much as she respected and admired the Sandame, she was still pissed at what the academy was currently turned into. Sure, the man told her about his theory, but he could have caught on much earlier in her mind. Might as well go see what the Gaki's up to. Back in the dungeon. Keiton. Inka no Jutsu, fire release. Shadow fire technique. Naruto exhaled the demonic flames once more, and was happy to see creature finally fall. Okay, next one, Naruto muttered and prepared himself. Luck had not been kind to him after the initial encounter. When the bear chased him, Naruto had been unfortunate in bumping into another one. Anko had said one of the things he needed to work on was being more aware of his surroundings. He'd not have lost almost a little over 800 HP if he had. Her! The boar growled and rushed Naruto once more. But this time the boy was prepared and used the kauri to switch himself with a small fallen log that was ripped to shreds. However, the act also served to cover its body with the unstable cocktail, its body burning and licked by the flames. God bless the log. Ryoku Boku, Power Strike. Jumping from his hiding place, Naruto smashed his weapon on the bear's face that ended its existence, but not before he was caught by a wild swing that had the air rushing from his lungs. Ugh. Naruto groaned and was once again thankful that the gamer's body would allow him to heal from this, and prevent his body from developing bruises. However, Naruto couldn't sleep now and was forced to use up supplies to ensure his HP didn't go too low. I hate bears, Naruto said as he bandaged up his form with one of his first aid kitso. The bears were gone, but both had taken a decent amount of health away from him before they were defeated. Big as a bear was, the beasts were quicker than expected due to the Shingeki charge ability. Naruto had not anticipated that, but should have given his experience. In games, bears and boars were usually classified as a U-tank, creatures or beings that were capable of dishing out decent damage, but their forte truly shined when they were taking blows that other creatures normally couldn't. A downside was that they weren't overly quick, but some of them could learn a skill, such as Shingeki charge or Itoshin dash, that granted them an incredible speed boost. In a Shingeki charge's case, this allowed them to not only close the gap between their target with little warning, though only within a certain distance, but had the chance to cause the status effect, E-dazed, too. As such, the bear used that opportunity to land in some decent blows. Best. I keep a distance from him. Naruto had every intention of facing the bears if encountered, but even then he couldn't help but chide himself for such a newbie-like stunt. With his HP back to a reasonable amount, Naruto got up to collect his loot and continue his dungeon crawl, but stopped when I detect killing intent pinged up and warned him of a foe closing in from behind. Negative intent detected. Distance 3 meters. Oh, get lost, Naruto barked suddenly. To his surprise, the charging boar began to shiver in place. Congratulations! A special skill has been created due to a special act. Due your intense desire to scare the living daylights of another being, you have learned the intimidation skill. Intimidation. LV1. 7% to next. LV. Skill modifier. Cha De Chi Si. Mastering speed. D. A skill similar to the more advanced E-killing intent skill that allows you to utilize a form of intimidation upon another to the point it negatively affects them depending on the circumstances. Currently at its lowest level, upon being upgraded and fully mastered, the skill can result in several negative statuses. Effects wear off when struck. CP. Cost. None. Success rate to cause a startled status effect. E31%. Chawon Wa. Aster level. Victim level. Victims Wiz Jun 1. Success rate to cause scared status effect. 1% Shondo Wa. Aster level. Victim level. Victims Wiz No and Ryo. Success rate to cause G catatonic status effect. Yi 31%. Che G1 1-1. Caster level. Victim level. Victims Wiz known. Victim affected for 1 second, 5 seconds, X, Chea 5. Special note. Skill update. Due to you learning the Intimidation skill, for each level of your Intimidation skill an additional 1% success rate will be added to your Killing Intent skill. Further information on the Killing Intent skill has been revealed. Nice! Naruto grinned and brandished his weapon to end the swine's existence. Arf? Boo-hee. What? Naruto could only watch as a small tiger-striped puppy jump into the boar's back and began biting the beast like no tomorrow. Not that it would do much given the little guy's low level. Status window. Name. Lost Ninkin Pup. Job. Ninkin Ninja Dog. Level. 3. Next level. 89, 1400. HP. 225. CP. 175. Star. 6. Vit. 9. Dex. 11. Int. 3. Wis. 6. Cha. 2. Look. 15. Defense. 0. Specialization. None. Special perks. Ninja Dog. Human lifespan. Ability to mold chakra. Potential to speak human language. Int currently not high enough. Perks. Kamenu. Lineage Guard Dog. Walvon. 1 Vit per LV. 20% effectiveness. XP and power towards e-biting skills. Physical damage reduced by 10%. 10% effectiveness and XP towards e-movement speed. Akita, lineage, tracking dog. Elvon. 1 dex per LV, 20% effectiveness and XP towards U-tracking skill, 20% effectiveness and XP towards stealth skill, 10% towards e-movement speed. Keen senses, LLID, 1, 35%. Effectiveness towards U-detection skill, 45% effectiveness towards enemy henge skill. Description: a 2-year-old ninja dog with Komainu blood in his veins. While possessing great potential like his cousin Akamaru, this young pup, like most Komainu pups, require a good amount of discipline. Whilst difficult to train in the beginning, they are fiercely loyal and protective of their owners and partners. What's an Inuzuka pup doing in a dungeon of all places? Naruto wondered. He got his answer moments later. Quest alert! Keep him safe. Keep him alive. Main quest: ensure the safety of the lost Ninken and return him to the Inuzuka clan. Side quest: ensure the lost Ninken doesn't suffer from the unconscious's status effect. Main quest completion: 2000x, 500. Reputation towards Inuzuka clan. And a lost Ninken too. Side quest completion: 1000 XP, 250. Reputation towards Inuzuka clan. And a lost Ninken. Failure: 200 XP, lost Ninken's potential death or suffering from crippled. Law: 500. Reputation towards Inuzuka clan and lost Ninken. Accept. Yes, no. Special note: quest is optional but may not be taken later if declined. Nah. XP is exp. Plus the question marks were beneficial one way or another. Moving into action, Naruto appeared in front of the now thrashing boar and bashed its face with his Shoyo and Echipower strike. Despite the boar's face suddenly crashing into the ground, the young Ninken still held firm to its back. Naruto had to give it credit where credit was due. The little puppy was tenacious. Doton. Doran. Earth release. Earth riot. With its face still floored to the earth, the boar received the full brunt of the technique's unforgiving assault and found itself suffering from the eye bleeding and eyes low status effects. However, despite its injuries, the boar was not out just yet, and Naruto had to dodge to the left to avoid being gored. Unfortunately, the sudden action had him trip over a boulder and force the air from his lungs from the impact to his back. Shit. The boar took this chance to charge in quickly and crashed headfirst into the downed blonde. Its actions proved fruitless when smoke impaired its vision and a log replaced Naruto's form. Sucker! Ryoku Boku, Power Strike! A studded and burning club crashed into the boar's face. The swine went on to suffer even more misfortune as fire cloaked its injured form, courtesy of the U-burning debuff. Arf! Cried the little pup, unprepared for the sudden immolation, who was forced to let go of his prey. The boar squealed in pain and bucked like a wild stallion as it tried to rid itself of the flames. The action proved futile and allowed Naruto to finish it off with his next move. Keton. Inka. Fire release. Shadow fire. Ball of fire expelled from Naruto's mouth before it twisted and shifted into a demonic visage. Once again, Naruto swore the fire resembled that of a vicious, snarling fox with rows of wicked, unforgiving teeth. The boar stood no chance and was soon nothing more than particles of light that symbolized its defeat. With the boar defeated, Naruto looked to the small Ninken to ensure it wasn't hurt too badly. The only problem with his action was that the small dog was now nowhere to be seen. Oh, give me a big fat brioche. Had birds been present, Naruto's shout would have made them fly for safety. Looking back, the young boy discovered that the source of his pain came from a small little pup gnawing on his backside. You little shit! I save your life and this is the thanks I get. The pup only answered by biting even harder. Oh, let go, you ass! Grabbing the little dog proved difficult given where it was situated, and trying to pull it off proved just as hard. Kamenu, even as puppies, had formidable jaw strength, the strongest amongst dog breeds. Healthy, strong adults surging with adrenaline and chakra had a bite force that could match or exceed those of Numa no Kuni's giant crocodiles. Beasts that could bite through thick reinforced steel under the right conditions. The blonde was fortunate that the young puppy was nowhere near that level of strength just yet, but even then, his current bite force was greater than the average dog. "Let go, damn it! I just got these," Naruto barked. The Ninken held on firmly. "You asked for it." "Ort. Congratulations, especially you." "Nope." Naruto stopped the rest of the message. He had no intention of wanting to know what was going to pop up. That was a line even he wouldn't cross. Ignoring that for now, Naruto laughed as the foul odor assaulted the young Ninken's nose, its eyes watering comically in the process, one that proved too much even for the stubborn canine to continue chewing his tender backside. "Arf! Arf!" The young creature hacked and tried to scratch away the horrible smell that burned his nose to no avail. The puppy even tried rubbing his face into the dirt too, but even that failed to do anything. Whilst it was distracted, Naruto grabbed the little troublemaker by the scruff of his neck. "Gotcha!" he declared triumphantly. His victory proved short-lived, as a warm yellow, liquid byproduct hit his face dead center. By the time the stream stopped, a tick-marked Naruto looked at the small dog with utter loathing. "You're really starting to push my buttons there, mutt," Naruto growled, and then spat out the lingering piss that dribbled down his face. The young pup had a smirk, but it didn't last long, and was quickly replaced by a tearful one the instant Naruto struck his head with a well-placed punch. "Whine." "Okay, some ground rules, you little bastard," Naruto began. "Rule number 1. You want to live and get out of here. You listen to me." "Arf?" Naruto didn't speak Ninken, or dog, really, but even he knew that he had just been insulted. Rule number 2. Speaking out of turn will get you neutered. 2 kunai, one in each hand, suddenly appeared, and Naruto formed them into a makeshift scissor. The young Ninken was smart enough to know what neutered symbolized. As Naruto noticed, the puppy began to shiver, and it even looked as though it was crossing its legs, its tail in between them. 3. You need a name. Sure as hell ain't gonna call you Mutt all the time. Naruto got annoyed by Anko always referring to him as Gaki, and had no intention of doing it himself. "Okay, what to call ye? Hey?" "Arf!" Grabbed by the scruff once again, the dog barked once more after his failed escape attempt. Once more did the pooch try to urinate on his captor, but Naruto was prepared. "You hot-headed little shit." Naruto was sorely tempted to move forward with his neutering threat. Had the piss struck him again, he'd have not given a damn of the consequences. "Hato?" Naruto suddenly declared. "Till we get out of here, your name's Hato." Grr, the newly named Hato growled. "Don't like it? Well, tough shit. The little pain in his ass would have to deal with it." Ignoring him for now, but still keeping an eye on him from the corner of it, Naruto began collecting the dropped loot. "Arf?" "What now?" Naruto asked out loud, loot still in hand, and noticed he somehow had Hato's attention. The little dog was leaning forward as he sat on his hindquarters and eagerly sniffing in his direction. Huh. It dawned on him a moment later, and Naruto began moving the piece of boar meat to one side. He watched as the pup followed its movement. Moving it in another direction, the gamer watched Hato lick his nose. "Mrrr," was the sound that escaped him. "Did you just beg?" Naruto couldn't help himself. "Hey, wait a minute." Realizing this could work in his favor, Naruto tested out what was going through his mind. "Come!" The pup easily complied. "Sit!" Once more it complied with the command. "Lie down," this time not so much, only doing it part way before coming back up. Naruto repeated the order more forcefully this time, and Hato did in fact lie down. "Fetch!" Issuing another verbal command, Naruto watched as the little Ninken ran after the tossed piece of wild pork meat. The canine pounced on it with gutso, and for something so small, Hato managed to eat it rather quickly. Your reputation with Hato has gone up by 25. Want another? Naruto asked and got a bark in response. The boy was hopeful he could milk this newly discovered feature for all it's worth. Okay, Pooch. Here's what we're gonna do. Sometime later. Boo! Boo! Cried the small little creature that came running from the bush. Arf! Arf! And right behind it was Hato, who barked as he came running out of the underbrush like a flock of bats out of a cave. Woo! And hot on his heels was a large wild pig that ignored getting its face smacked and injured by the foliage as it charged after its target. The larger of the wild animals, however, didn't make it too far before it fell into a large hole filled with earthen spears. Bleeding status effect, succeeded. Slow status effect, succeeded. Ah, the good old tried and true leaf-covered trap pit. Gets him every time. A voice from above drew the trapped beast's attention. Now standing over the hole with the stuck pig, Naruto bore a nasty grin that had the boar shaking with fear. Welp, time to fry piggy. Katon. Inca. Fire release. Shadow fire. Demonic balls of fire soared through the air before they made contact with their target. With nowhere to run and the hole too deep for it to move, it was over for it within minutes of repetitive use of the fire ninjutsu. Boo. Boo. Arf? Looking over his shoulder, Naruto snorted at the scene before him. Hato was chasing the little piglet around a tree in his continuous efforts, and barking were scaring the little thing to death. The boy decided to put it out of its misery with a well-placed Raikou Baku. Whack! Congratulations. You learned the Isageki, Crushing Strike, skill. Sageki, Crushing Strike. LV1. LV. Skill modifier. Star ED Mastering Speed. CCA. A skill that allows the user to land a crippling blow on the target's limbs that will not only harm but can momentarily impair the victim's movement. CP usage. 80. Increases blunt weapon damage by 21%. SRHH 32%. Success rate to cause a slow status effect. Tutor 1%. ZRHT. Ainshi. Caster level. Victim level. Victims. Vit. All one day. Impairs movement for 2.5 seconds. 5 seconds. X and GM5N. Caster level. Victim level. Victims. Vit wow.
But the loss of its playmate didn't seem to bother Hato, who continued running around the tree and barking. Naruto stifled a laugh and wondered how long it would take for the ninkin to realize what it was chasing was gone.
Sitting down and taking out some food to heal himself, Naruto had to admit the tactics he'd been using worked fairly well. Naruto would either make a trap, Hato would aggro the creatures with his barks, and then lead them to said traps, or Hato would distract the creatures while Naruto struck, while their attention was focused on the ninkin. It certainly had its risks. Hato was at a much lower level compared to the dungeon creatures, and there had been a couple of close calls due to the little shit going off script, but all in all the tactics had worked well for them both. However, it was clear to Naruto that Hato needed more than a few points added to his int. It took him nearly 2 minutes before the tiger-stripped ninkin noticed the lack of prey. Confused as to where his prey had disappeared to, Hato began sniffing around to find out what happened, but such thoughts were ignored the moment a piece of boar meat landed in front of him. Okay, so that makes 12 wild boars, 8 mature boars, a little over half a dozen piglets, and 5 mama boars, Naruto recalled as he put away the loot. Arf? Huh, alright. And those honey bears and that queen bee, that last one had been tricky since it was a flyer and quick. Attack-wise, the queen bee didn't deal much, but it was one of those creatures that had moves and minions that interrupted one from focusing and landing a proper blow. Its speed, coupled with its ability to poison him, had made it an annoying creature to deal with. While Naruto had expected a decent drop from a monster like that. His hopes had been dashed when all he got was something called royal jelly instead. The ninja in training had been irked even more. Facing that thing and getting a lousy drop had not been worth the trouble. It was like fighting a rare spawn, but all you got was something you couldn't really use, nor was it something that anyone else wanted. Boss better give me something decent. The experience points were nice and all, but Naruto would hate going through all this and not get something of material value. Bringing up the requirements, Naruto was happy to see he more than met them. You must defeat the following enemies to face the dungeon boss. Mandatory: Wild Boars, 12-10. Mature Boars, 8-5. Piglets, 7-3. Mama Boars, 5-3. Optional enemies: Honey Bears, 6-2. Queen Bee, 1-1. You have exceeded the requirements needed to face the dungeon boss. Additional loot will be rewarded pending dungeon boss's defeat. Enemy defeat count, minimum or exceeded amount, will reset back to 0 upon entering. Great. Now I just gotta find it. Fortunately, this wasn't like the zombie dungeon that had the boss appear out of nowhere and gave him little time to prepare or recuperate. Arf, grr. Oh, what now? Naruto could only imagine the trouble Hato managed to get himself into this time. The Ninken was smart enough to remember the number of creatures they faced, but not smart enough to know not to go off on his own. The stubborn Ninken could handle himself against the piglets since their levels were close to his own. But a good solid hit from another creature, and goodbye doggy. Hato, where are you, you little? Naruto grumbled. After this was over, he'd have to get Anko to teach him the You Detect Presence skill. Wait a minute, Naruto put that thought on hold. Jumping up the nearest tree and looking over the wide expanse of bush and trees, Naruto focused his attention and tried picturing himself and locating the small Ninken. Congratulations! A special skill has been created through a special act. Through the act of trying to locate beings around you, you've gained the active O Detect Presence skill. Detect Presence. LV1. 14% to next. LV skill modifier was ID. Mastering speed. D. A skill that allows you to detect certain presences in the area around you. Current level does not allow you to pinpoint the location of certain targets. Allows you to detect presences within 5 meters. Wiz 8 I. Naruto didn't need to be told twice and moved towards Hato's location. Fortunately, no other creatures could be sensed in the area, and Naruto grinned like mad as the pup's location just happened to be near the dungeon boss's den. A muddy hole in a small slope surrounded by large trees and underbrush. A bellow from the den was heard the moment he landed. Hato Naruto saw was shaking like a leaf, his tail tucked between his legs. He was scared. Can't blame him. Naruto was a tad nervous too. Not so much for himself, but dungeon bosses were a different breed of monster. After ordering Hato to go and hide, Naruto prepared himself as best he could as he waited for the arrival of the boss. He had no intention of losing this time like he did against the Legion zombie. Bosses were tough, and had skill sets differed from their minions. For some, all it would take was a good blow, and Naruto would be left in a very bad situation. Hato would be toast. But even then, Naruto could only imagine the loot he'd get from defeating it. The enemies of this dungeon didn't drop any money, which wasn't uncommon for non-humanoid-like monsters, but bosses were usually the exception. He didn't know how much he'd get from his previous auction. It would take quite some time before he learned of anything, and much of the loot he got were mostly used to enhance non-combative skills or skills he lacked. His CP and HP were high, but didn't do him much good with the limited amount of skills he had. Naruto needed the money to branch out his low repertoire. When Naruto noticed that several moments had passed, still keeping his guard up, Naruto moved in closer and on instincts brought up his weapon. What he saw made him faceplant. He felt like a real idiot then and there. Would you like to enter the dungeon boss area? Yes, no. Grumbling to himself, Naruto pressed on yes, and then all hell broke loose from the burrow. The earth shook a bit, not enough to make him lose balance, but enough to know that whatever was coming was big and heavy. Dirt, mud, and grass were thrown up in the air as indeed something large and dirty came charging out. Naruto's eyes widened considerably as the largest and by far the ugliest boar he had ever seen came running out and released a huge bellowing cry. "Holy shit, that bitch is big! This thing's almost as tall as a small house," he mentally called out, "Observe" on the creature. Status window. Cantankerous boss of the forest, Onishi Alva 19. HP 3250. CP 1325. Start 66. Vit 53. Dex 47. End 33. Int 9. Whis 4. Cha 4. Look 20. Defense 46. Special perks. Dungeon. Boss Blessing. LV1. 1500. HP. 500 CP. 15% towards all resistances. All attributes increased by 15. 10. Defense. Perks. Hard-headed. LV3. 65% resistance towards UDs-related status effects. 65% effectiveness and power towards head-based skills. Tenacious. Ignores negative psychological related status effects, such as hysteria or EF frightened, when health drops below 30%. Movement speed and power increases by 30%, when below 30%. Health. Thick hide, LV1. 500 HP, 35. Defense, 25% towards Utaijutsu resistance, D-bladed weapons resistance, and blunt weapons resistance, 25% towards earth resistance and water resistance. Keen senses. LV5, 95% effectiveness towards you detect presence skill, immune to a Henji skill. Flaws. Impaired. Vision. 50% accuracy and effectiveness towards all skills that rely on vision. Sensitivity. Nose. Highly sensitive to scent-based techniques. Description. The saying "the hunted has become the hunter" greatly applies to this scarred and gigantic pig. With a thick hide covered with various stuck weapons, standing over 10 feet tall and 14 feet in length, strong muscles and jagged tusks, capable of skewering even trees, this boar will make even the most experienced hunters cower in fear. Many new and would-be hunters have challenged this boar both as a rite of passage and to gain recognition, only to meet their end at the hands of this magnificently large beast. Exp earned. Drops. Naruto didn't like what he was seeing at the moment, and glad he ordered Hato to stay behind. Sure, Naruto was excited at the prospect of facing the boss because it was good experience, but even then, he still didn't expect a low-level boss to be like this. Look at that star and dex. While most creatures this size would normally have high star and vit and be relatively slow. In this case, however, Naruto knew that the creature wasn't going to be sluggish. Fear never took a hold of him as his Agamer's mindy kicked in, and Naruto began to think clearly. Looking at the boss, Naruto noted the saving grace in all this was the boss's poor eyesight. One eye was closed shut, a wicked scar jutting down from its forehead to its right eye, and snout, and had pus surrounding it. Its other eye, while open, was a milky white color. Seeing it sniff the air for him, and rather than wait for it to charge at him, the boy decided to take the initiative. Grabbing one of his ununstable cocktails, Naruto threw the bottle, and was happy to see it striking right on the schnoz. It was a critical hit, and the creature not only became covered in flames, but was suffering from the G poison debuff, too. Well, that worked out nicely, the boy commented dryly. But despite his small victory, the boar charged at him with speeds that put his minions to shame. Jumping into a nearby tree before it reached him, Naruto used Shadow Fire but overshot his target. Naruto cursed and followed up with another that struck home, but the beasts didn't seem bothered by it and smashed into the tree. It shook violently, and while it remained rooted, Naruto made note not to get hit by that thing. The force behind it was likely enough to not only take away a good chunk of health even with him blocking it, but send him well over a dozen meters away into something unpleasant. Good thing I didn't fall. That would not have been pleasant. The boy's thoughts were cut short as the tree began to shudder violently once again. Looking down, Naruto spotted the boss ramming its head against the tree, and judging by the fact that the roots were being uprooted meant his current location was no longer safe. Unfortunately, the nearest tree was too far away for him to jump and would require him sprinting for his life. Waiting until the boss charged once again, Naruto jumped just as the tree could no longer withstand the onslaught of the boar and dashed with all he had. Naruto only made it halfway there before Onishi crashed into him with all the force of an exploding tag. But the boy's body was replaced with a log covered in Enchipur-grade exploding tags that blew up in his face. Naruto's dungeon grinding in the zombie dungeon had paid off big time in that regard. They weren't the best of the exploding tags and they were still rare drops, but he had managed to get well over a baker's dozen of them. And at 115 points in damage per tag, 5 of them together took away a decent amount of health. Ninpo, Goriki, Ninja Art, Hard Strength, Naruto declared, and then followed up with a Sajiki, Crushing Strike, that hit it with all he had on the leg. Naruto hoped that his plan worked. Slow status effect. Failed. It didn't. Damage was done to the beast, but his plan didn't work nonetheless. Of course it did. Naruto followed up with another strike, and then another. And another, while avoiding the pig's wild spins and turns to smack or squish him into red jelly. Doran would have been more ideal. But Naruto's plan was to impair its speed. Its resistance to earth-based techniques not only made it less damaging, but its status-inducing effects less likely to take hold. Slow status effect. Failed. Gah! As he made to strike once more, Naruto suddenly felt the air leaving his lungs as a strong force struck his stomach and sent him flying and landing hard against the ground, his face striking a large boulder as he rolled away. The action left the boy momentarily dazed before he was struck a second time and sent skidding away into the forest. Gah! Finally coming to a stop. Naruto got up as quickly as he could and was forced to jump out of the way as the boss came in, charging at him at full speed. Naruto was glad he did as he bore witness to the tree behind him being skewered and uprooted and tossed at him. Yipes! Ducking as quickly as he could, the tree only barely missed him as he tried becoming one with the grass. But by then, Naruto had to get up and jump over charging boar that tried turning him into a shish kebab. And the hell he was gonna die and have to restart this dungeon all over again. Watching it turn around, Naruto put his hands on the ground and called forth some earthen stalagmites. At its current speed and poor vision, Onishi crashed into the unforgiving ninja-made earth spears. Its resistance to earth techniques didn't do much, but striking it as fast as it did, and uneven earth formed by the technique had it skidding and tumbling away. Katen. Inka no Jutsu. Fire release. Shadow fire. The demonic-looking fire struck true, but other than that, nothing much happened. Onishi's high stats along with its perks prevented the status effects from his techniques from occurring. Seeing it get ready to charge at him once more, Naruto prepared himself. Big, strong, and fast as it was, Onishi, he noticed, had trouble with making last-minute turns whenever it went at full speed, and judging by what occurred moments ago, it had trouble keeping its balance if it tripped over something. But while knowing this was good and all, Naruto had lost a decent amount of health from it in a short amount of time, while Onishi's health was still almost at 2,000. A quick use of one of his potions had him regain 30% of his lost health, but Naruto couldn't continue going this route. Arf! There at the edge of the clearing, Naruto saw Hato barking up a storm. The gamer paled when Onishi spotted the little ninkin and the aggro effects took hold. Arf! Arf! Hato barked a few more times and then took off. Oh no! Naruto paled and moved as quickly as he could. and lashed out with Sajiki to impede Onishi's movements. Slow status effect. Failed. No! Naruto shouted and only just managed to grab onto the charging boar's back. With one hand holding onto its back and the other wielding his weapon, Naruto smashed and bashed as much as he could to stop the boar from reaching the stupid ninja dog pup. But his actions didn't pan out like he had hoped. In an effort to shake him off, Onishi crashed into trees and boulders, just about anything to get him to stop. Naruto was smacked by branches, flying stone and dirt, and even a glob of mud, but still did he not let go of his unwilling mount. But it all came to an end when Naruto found himself flung from the boss's back, and he felt his entire body rattle the instant he struck a very large tree, and then fell unceremoniously to the ground with little to no grace. Whatever HP he recovered was likely almost gone, and much more were likely to be lost as Naruto was once again affected by the Itade's Deba. However, instead of getting his body smashed onto a pulp, Naruto instead began hearing the boar boss squeal, snort, and grunt, and to his relief he also the annoying bark of Hado. Oh, thank Kami. Happy that he was alright, but his little maid Naruto vow he was going to get him for this as soon as he was out of the dungeon. By the time the Ude's debuff stopped affecting him, Naruto looked around and smirked. Onishishi had skewered the wrong tree apparently, and he concluded that the beast was stuck, and stuck good. The tree shook and groaned, but it wasn't going anywhere. My turn, Naruto bore a grin that would make Anko proud, as he began making a move on his good fortune. Naruto began by taking out his frustration on the stuck pig with his weapon, and Ryoku Boku. By the end, he had lost count of how many times he struck the dungeon boss, and decided to follow up with his most powerful fire technique. But while his katan, Inka, struck true, Naruto noticed a dark sheen coating the beast's back and hind legs. Looking at Onishi's status window, he also believed that his technique had done nothing to the creature. Warning! Your technique has been negated by Onishi's Idaton. Gomogen Tetsuhari no Jutsu, Earth Release. Bristle Rock Iron Needle Technique. Daton. Gomogen Tetsuhari no Jutsu, Earth Release. Bristle Rock Iron Needle Technique. B-rank defensive earth technique that hardens the hairs of the user to act like tempered armor. While in use, the individual is virtually impervious to damage except from the exceptionally strong attack that overpowers the technique, or is negated by using a lightning release technique. While in use, the user cannot move, or the technique will be cancelled. What? It knows ninjutsu. That wasn't good. It changed everything. Despite this newfound knowledge, Onishi remained stuck, and had since not moved. Naruto would have thought the boss dead had he not known better. So long as the technique was used, the boar wouldn't be going anywhere. Naruto bet that the moment backed off it would try and free itself, and he'd lose his current advantage. Great. Just great. Naruto couldn't believe his luck. A perfect way to end a boss. And it pulled this crap on him. Bullshit. Arf! Arf! Oh, for the love of... Hado! He really wasn't in the mood for any of the pup's stupid stunts. Great. So this is how Iruka-sensei feels. Ironic karma suck. The little pup ignored Naruto, however, and instead lunged at Onishi. His efforts to bite down on the creature proved fruitless. It was like biting into a chew toy that was anchored down to the floor. Hey! What did I say, you little shit? Naruto didn't have to grab the ninkin as he released his hold on the boar voluntarily. Dummy must have realized he wasn't really doing anything to it. Nor would he be able to do anything so long as the technique was in place. Arf! Grr! Naruto lunged for the pup that in all his infinite wisdom decided to go underneath the beast that could flatten him like a noodle. Hado, get out from underway. Grrf. Naruto blinked and could not believe what he saw. Oh, you poor bastard. Boo-hwa! Boo-hwa! Onishi's Doton, Gomogen Tetsuhari no Jutsu has been negated. Massive critical hit has occurred. No shit. Naruto was certain if he had gotten bitten in the balls it would have done the same thing. Frankly, he was glad the pup hadn't done that on their first encounter. That, or he missed and bit his ass instead. Great, Naruto drawled. There was a thought he could have done without. But regardless of that, Hato had given him an opportunity he would not waste. Grabbing 2 bottles of Unstable cocktail, and both were smashed against the boar's side. The action easily took away 1,000 HP, and reduced its HP well below the 30% mark. From there, Naruto continued to strike at the creature with everything he had, and Onishi was powerless to stop him. All the boar could do was thrash and squeal before finally it all came to an end when Naruto used on last Katan. Inka on the creature? Disappearing into particles of light, Naruto laughed Hato fall onto his back and whelp the moment its chew toys disappeared. That was certainly one way to end a boss. Not the most dignified way to do it, nor the most dignified way to die either, but Naruto was a ninja. Who cares? So long as I win, were Naruto's thoughts. Arf. Looking at Hato, Naruto could only shake his head. You, my pain in the ass, are gonna have a little talk to later. But for Naruto, went to collect his well-earned loot. One of which confused him. Okay, what? Onishi's head. Item type. Quest item. Durability. One-time use. Description. The head of the infamous boar Onishishi. The head of the strong and elusive boar that warranted the attention of Konoha and forced someone in the village to place a D-rank bounty on the creature's head. Use this as proof of you putting an end to him. Quest alert. Bounty. Onishi. Main quest. Collect Onishi's bounty from whoever placed the bounty. Main quest completion. 1,100 XP. 35,000 Ryo. Accept. Yes, no. Wait, what? This guy was only worth a low D-rank bounty. Naruto thought in disbelief. Either this meant that D-rank bounties were stronger than he thought them to be, or Naruto was really lagging behind. For now, Naruto decided to accept the quest, as while the experience points were low, every little bit helped, and the cash bounty was a good welcome too. Next, Naruto looked at the other loot that had been dropped. Tusk Key. Item type. Dungeon Key. Durability. One-time use. Description. A key made from one of Onishi's tusks. Unlocks the dungeon's treasure chest. Sweet. Naruto eagerly grabbed the key and stored it away, and then made his way over the last drop. Minor grade soulstone of the boar. Item type. Enhancement item. Durability. One-time use. Description. The concentrated energies of a decently strong creature resides within this stone that are just begging to be released. Using this item will increase your attributes and give you a new skill. Buffs, perks. 5. Vit and Auto Detect Presence skill. AIV. Note. If the granted skill is already learned, it will instead increase by 5 levels. Skills cannot be increased beyond maximum level. Hells. Yeah. Naruto couldn't believe his luck and immediately used the gem on himself. While I Detect Presence wasn't the greatest skill in the world, Naruto at least wouldn't have to wander off aimlessly when he needed to find someone. The fact that he already had it meant it increased immediately to level 6, another bonus. With nothing else left, Naruto grabbed Hato so he wouldn't wander off and made his way towards Onishi's den. If games taught him anything, it was that treasure chests from conquering a dungeon were usually near the boss's lair. His reasoning proved to be correct. A fairly large chest was inside the muddy den. Using the key, which disappeared soon after, Naruto couldn't wait to see what goodies were inside. And his hopes weren't dashed. Jackpot. Chichizo Wudge, Bloody Ivory. Rare quality. Item type. Bladed weapon. Item modifier rank. Esther EB. Durability. 90-90. Description. A very sturdy bone blade made from the tusk of Onishi. As the years went by, and Anishi became strong. So did the deadliness of his tusks. The blade is white and streaked with red as the tusks became permanently stained with the blood of its victims, to which the true power of this weapon comes from its ability to use the blood it has soaked up over the years. Though similar to a Zenbato, the blade is too small and light to be categorized as one. Regardless, the weapon still requires a substantial amount of strength for it to be properly used. Attack power, 5877. Bonus perks, Vampire, LV1, Sundering, LV01 Unique weapon skills, Ketozone, Blade of Blood. Fuinjutsu slots available. 1 major slot, E2 minor slotsy. Usage, requirement, 65, Star Basic Bladed, Weapon Mastery. Tsuchi no Kagi, Earth Key, very rare quality. Item type, quest item. Durability, one-time use. Description, a special key found in the dungeon chest of Training Ground 1. What its current use is for is currently unknown. Fuinjutsu, Bokukiku, Scroll. Fuinjutsu, Bokukyu, Sealing Technique, Firecracker, D rank, LV max. Skill modifier, End Chihai D, Mastering Speed, D. Originally developed as a prank, this basic fuinjutsu, when applied to a weapon or piece of armor, can be used to convert chakra and recreate the effects of a loud explosive firework. While the technique doesn't really do any harm, it was discovered that it served well to interrupt or stun its target long enough for the user to perform whatever action they require. This technique is especially effective when used against beasts and has a high chance of putting them into a state of fear. CP usage, 85. Success rate to cause stunned status effect, Y41% and H.50. Affinity bonus perks, caster level, victim level. Victims, Wisdom 1. Success rate to cause a scared status effect, Y41% and H.50. Affinity bonus perks, caster level, victim level. Victims, Wisdom 1. Success rate to cause a frightened status effect, 11% and H.50. Affinity bonus perks, caster level, victim level. Victims, Wisdom 1. Special note. The Yeskerdan Ua Frightened status effects only apply to certain targets. Usage, requirements. Basic Fuinjutsu Mastery. Aw man, awesome as the weapon was, Naruto's star didn't met the requirements for him to use it. Even with Gariki, he was still 25 points short. And the boy had yet to learn Fuinjutsu. He'd have to get someone to do it for him. The only saving grace of it all was the 10,000 ryo he collected from the treasure chest and the Earth Key. All in all, an okay haul, but nothing Naruto could use at the moment. As soon as he done putting the items away, the gamer was greeted by a multitude of pop-up messages. Skills level up list. Observe, LAV, 6LV77. Intimidation, LL1. Basic blunt weapons mastery, LLV4, LLV6. Basic blade weapons mastery, LLV 3 check. Segeki, LV1. Ryoku Boku, LV3, LV4 Shiden. Kagikaku, LLD, 1 on. Hidama, Iltel 4 set. Inka, LV 1 yo fal 4 Shuten. Doran, ELV 1 yo 4 Elren Chalv 3 Tedin. Quest alert! Training Grounds Conqueror. Main quest, conquer Training Grounds 1 to 5. Side quest, collect dungeon keys from Training Grounds 1 to 5. Hidden quest. Main quest completion, 1500 XP and 1 AP per dungeon conquered, 1/5. Side quest completion, 750 XP per key collected, 150. Hidden quest completion. Yes, no. Special note. Quest is optional but may not be taken later if declined. Quest must be completed before Genin exam. Naruto easily accepted the quest and then contemplated the next pop-up when asked if he wanted to continue to training ground too. Tempted as it was, Hato needed to be brought home and he couldn't afford anything happening to the little goof. Naruto knew he needed to leave now, restock and train some more before going to the next level. He had defeated the boss, sure, but it hadn't been easy as he thought it would be. Nor was he really able to put the training he had gained from Hayate to good use, seeing as he lacked a sword. And the proper speed? The next level, he had no doubt, would be that more difficult. They usually were. Hell, he didn't even get to level up. So, no, Naruto wasn't going into another dungeon just yet. Even if it meant he'd have to wait before being allowed to go back in again. Pressing on Uno, Naruto and Hato were greeted by a brilliant flash and left the dungeon and found themselves outside training ground 1. Only now, the training ground had a timer on it that only he could see. Might as well go and wash up before someone made herself known. There you are, Naruto-san. Anko-chan has been looking for you for the last hour, Midori told him. Hour? It hadn't felt that long to him, really. But then again, time flew by rather quickly whenever he played video games. The boy had lost count of the many occasions where he lost track of time whenever he was playing his games. Hey, Gaki, where the hell were you? Anko said behind him. Gah, will you stop doing that? Naruto shouted and wondered why his detection ability hadn't sensed her. Naruto guessed it probably had to do with how high her levels were, amongst other things. I'm the one asking the questions here, Gaki. Anko ignored his shouting and gave him a look over. What happened to you? Get in tussle with a boar or something, she joked. How'd you know? He was genuinely surprised. The woman merely gave him a look. I didn't. So, how'd it go? She had an inkling the boy went into one of those dungeons things like last time. Pretty well, he said. I haven't known you that long, Gaki, but I can tell you're bluffing, so spill. Being an interrogator, and one of Konoha's bests, Anko knew how to pick up lies, and while Naruto could fool some, it wouldn't work on her. Damn it, he groaned. I won, but it wasn't easy, you happy? Yep, the woman smirked. Find anything? What's with the mutt? Arf? Long story, Naruto told her. And I got time to kill, so spill, she more or less ordered. Naruto could only groan. Right now, all he wanted to do was turn in the mutt and take a shower. Was that so hard to ask? Chapter 8. Just a boring day. Naruto rarely got tired, a boon that the boy would come to realize was a result of his perks. As such, the exercises that came from the academy and dealing with enemies in low-level dungeons barely gave him a sweat, unless he went all out along with doing so non-stop. But after only little over 3 hours of doing the unaccustomed exercises Hayate had him go through, Naruto was starting to sweat. A 3-hour workout was nothing for Naruto. By now, he would barely have any perspiration on his form. Quickly did Hayate conclude that Naruto wasn't any ordinary academy student, and decided to modify and ramp up the level of intensity, and the punishment that came with it. Overswung. Hayate barked and unleashed a flurry of swings too fast for the academy student to block. Crap! Was Naruto's cry, his back impacting the grass once more. He had given up counting the amount of times he found himself in this position. Again. From the sidelines with her Anbu friend, Anko watched the scene unfold before her. Sadistic bastard. Tell me about it, Yugao nodded, but it gets result. Besides, I thought you wanted him to go at. No, I mean, the ballerina's being a tough-as-nails mentor who gives no mercy. Anko cut her friend off. Yeah, so? That's my shtick, Anko whined. The rest of the group's sweat dropped. Timing was off. No fair, I was distracted. Oh crap, Naruto couldn't stop his words on time. Oh boy. Oh goody. Naruto didn't hesitate to run for his life. Being distracted was a huge negative in the ninja way of life. Pretending to be distracted was one thing, but to actually be distracted was another. At best, bad injuries or you lucked out of any serious harm. At worst, it meant crippling injuries or death. Anko and Hayat were trying their hardest to beat that sense into Naruto's already dense skull. Literally. I love this part, Anko laughed, ignoring the fact that her ward was being beaten into cake mix. There is something seriously wrong with you, Anko, Yugao stated for what she felt was the millionth time. Anko merely shrugged, proud of it, and I've heard worse. Ah! Half an hour later, Naruto was on one knee and panting, but he had managed to get the exercise done. Gulping down the water he was given, Naruto sighed in relief when Hayate announced that they were done for the day. Oh, hell ain't over yet, Gaki, was Anko's soul-crushing announcement. Next is your session with Hana. Naruto honestly believed the woman's smirk should be made illegal. You're enjoying this way too much, Databeo, was all Naruto could say. Meh. We all find our pleasures somewhere. Try masturbating, said Naruto, hoping to throw the woman off. Judging by their expressions, it certainly worked on both Hayate and Yugao. Not pleasurable enough, even with TT. Okay, you win, Naruto cried defeat. His plan failed. Yeah, we're just gonna go, a red-faced, Yugao announced and vanished alongside her lover. Anko merely laughed at her friend's expense before refocusing on her ward. You're a long way away before you're in my league, kiddo. Good try, though. Haven't seen Neko-chan that red in a while. Well, at any rate, up and at 'em. Naruto merely sighed as both he and Anko made their way to the Inuzuka compound. Living with a ninkin was different, to say the least. Not bad, but different. Naruto had plants he watered and took care of, but this was a completely different scenario for him. Unlike regular dogs, ninkin not only needed food that offered a lot more sustenance, but also required a lot more daily exercise, or one ran the risk of them becoming rowdy and discontent. Not doing so made controlling them, a chore on itself, even more difficult. It couldn't be just regular exercises that normal dogs did either, which was why Tsume had picked her daughter Hana to show him the ropes as thanks for returning Hado. As a result of his new responsibilities, coupled with the new training from multiple parties, and the academy buckling down on their soon-to-be graduates, Naruto found himself with even less free time than before. Thinking back on it, all this occurred. Flashback, 3 weeks ago. Yeah, laugh it up, Naruto grumbled. While his fight against Onishi hadn't been the most efficient or smoothest of wins, it had been a win nonetheless. And to a ninja, that's all that really counted. Wawaha! Unable to make a clear sentence, Anko continued laughing. The woman's laughter went on for nearly 5 minutes before she managed to gain some semblance of control. However, even then, Anko released small chortles here and there. Okay. Anko cleared her throat, but the smile never left her face. You good? Naruto asked the older ninja. Oh, more than good. While it looked like she was about to start another laughing fit, Anko managed to control herself. So, find anything good? Despite knowing it was a deflection, Naruto took it regardless. Yeah, this sword. Overcompensating much, she said upon seeing the overly large blade. Can you even use it? Naruto's frown was all she needed to know her answer, but the boy replied regardless. Not yet. But I did get this. Here he showed her Anishi's head. Holy crap! Talk about fugly! Anko shouted at the sight of the enormous boar's head that appeared. Should I be worried by the fact you're carrying around a dead boar's head? It's the head of Onishi. It's needed to complete a quest. A D-rank bounty, Naruto explained. Bounty? Huh, never would have thought. Well, seeing as how it's a boar, we should head on over to the Inuzuka clan compound. Most of the time it's them that deal with animal bounties cause they're experts on them and chakra mutations. Gotta return that mud of theirs too, Anko told him. Shouldn't I take a shower first? Naruto felt like he could use one. Am I hot and sexy? She asked. Yes, Naruto blurted out without thinking. Your reputation with Anko has increased by 150. Ah, aren't you sweet? Anko hugged him to her chest. Too bad you're too young and I'm too sexy for prison. Shianti Bethki. Can't breathe, Naruto mumbled from her ample bosom. Trust me, Gaki, you couldn't ask for a better death. Here she dropped the gasping preteen and smirked as he started glaring. But even then, there was no stopping the blushing that masked his face. Oh, don't tell me you didn't like it? Naruto merely blushed at the provocative statement. They were nice and soft, he thought before mentally slapping himself as the image popped into his head. Whatcha thinking? The woman's smirk gave the impression she already knew, but Anko loved teasing the boy. Nanya business. A flushed Naruto shouted, but it only served to make Anko smirk even wider. Was it about these? She pushed her breasts together and took a deep breath. Gah! And embarrassed. Naruto hightailed it out of the area as quickly as he could. There is something seriously wrong with you, Anko-chan, Midori noted. Yeah, so. You'd think you'd be used to it by now, Midori, rebutted the kunoichi. One would think so, but no. The green constrictor was used to it, but had doubts she'd ever get fully used to it. Anko was very creative, especially when it came to sex appeal and torture. Sometime later, walking towards the Inuzuka clan compound with Anko beside him, Naruto wondered how he was going to play it out. Anko was with him because she was bored for one. That much was evident, and the other was because of the bounty. The woman reasoning her being there for that part was because the Inuzuka clan wouldn't take him seriously since he wasn't one of their own and an academy student to boot. It also wasn't that big a secret to know that Naruto was considered the weakest academy student. Him showing up with Anishi's head would raise some questions, and the Inuzuka were a clan that only tolerated weak individuals if they were very young or very old. In most clans, being old enough and capable of fighting but not doing anything or not contributing in some way was a very big negative. Even more so with the Inuzuka clan's pack and animalistic mentality. Fortunately, Anko would help him out because of Naruto's ignorance to the various rules. A few things you need to know about the Inuzuka clan, Gaki. They are very pack-oriented. Their mindset is a combination of humans with some canine or wolf tendencies. And Inuzuka never forgives and forgets if you cross them, and can be very territorial when they want to be. Also, don't be surprised if some of them challenges you. If it happens, don't back out without a reason, because you'll lose their respect. And if you see an older Inuzuka hitting one younger than them, don't worry about it. Inuzuka discipline is pretty much tough love. Any abuse on a child here, I heard, is dealt with harshly. The difference in the two is in the intent behind it. Tough love was more getting a point across, such as a very important lesson. But still showing them you care, while abuse was basically hurting another for no reason at all. Whenever the latter happened, she had heard that the person was sometimes put to death, as the Inuzuka greatly treasure family and their young ones. Okay, Naruto thought it was simple enough. Sort of. Oh yeah, this next bit is very important. If one of their female clansmen takes an interest in you, don't be surprised if wake up naked with them the next morning, she added. Though if it does happen according to Inuzuka law, you're now married. What? Married at his age? What the bloody fuck? Ha 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 ha, Anko laughed at the boy's horrified look. Oh man. You're too easy, Gaki, she laughed. The boy was so much fun to mess with. In truth, however, the practice died out before the clan joined Konoha. Not funny, glared at the woman. How do you deal with it, Midori? One agonizing day at a time. Naruto-san, one agonizing day at a time. Midori told him. That or the alternative is taking your life. Hey! Yeah, pass. He liked living, and he couldn't very well become Hokage if he was a corpse. At least he didn't think so. Uzumaki Naruto, the world's first zombie Hokage. Nah! The whole decomposing flesh look wasn't his thing. Pretty sure no sane girl would want a relationship with an undead, too. Arriving at the compound that had a dominant dog smell. Luckily, it was more on the pleasant side than the usually smelly or wet dog smell. Naruto could hear several barks ranging from high to low pitch tones. The boy spotted a few of them too, running around, with some being the size of his head, while others he saw could easily tower over him. Nearby, Naruto spotted some clansmen approaching them with their ninkin. Don't worry, let me handle this. Anko had previous dealing with the Inuzuka whenever she went on certain tracking missions. Taking a deep breath and exhaling, Anko took in an even deeper breath, and then, "Oi, Tsume! Get your ass out here, you bitch!" What the hell? Naruto was seriously wondering if Anko was trying to get them killed. I knew she was crazy, but this is nuts. Naruto had heard of Tsume through Kiba. She was his mother after all. And the one thing Kiba feared and respected the most was his mother. Naruto guessed the woman's form of tough love left an impression on him. "Snake bitch!" A voice from the compound called, and a woman with short brown hair, feral eyes, and with a wolf familiar, wearing an eye patch, appeared. As the woman walked towards them, Naruto couldn't help but feel like he was being stalked by a strong and deadly predator that was ready to pounce on them at any given time. As the woman suddenly appeared before Anko in a frightening burst of speed, Naruto blinked when he realized he could not keep up with it. However, the purple-haired woman beside him didn't even blink and stood tall and impassive as she locked eyes with the feral-looking woman. Naruto had no idea what was happening, but after several seconds or so, Tsume grinned and so did Anko before the older woman grabbed her in a shoulder hug. "Good to see you again, Anko-chan Midori." Tsume acknowledged the snake, but affectionately greeted the girl in a way Naruto could compare to be almost motherly. "So, me nothing, just here to help the Gaki out." Anko motioned towards Naruto. "Mind if we speak in private?" Nodding, Tsume then barked at her clansmen to get back to their duties, and while it may have sounded harsh to Naruto, the boy remembered that what seemed harsh to him was a normal and everyday thing to the Inuzuka. As they entered the compound house, which held a lot of pillow cushions and was very tidy for a place that held a large number of dogs, Naruto couldn't help but admire some of the decor. The walls had old and rusted antique weapons stacked on them, mostly claw or fist-based ones for some reason, drawings of an enormous white dog creature howling at the moon on a cliff, and other dog-related objects. As they arrived at a room, Tsume made a hand sign that caused the door and windows to shut close and shimmer temporarily in a purplish hue. Now, no one will think about snooping around. As much as she trusted her clan members, Tsume knew firsthand that not everyone was loyal to the clan or the village. "So, what's this all about?" "Well, the Gaki's got something for you." She nudged the boy forward. "Don't worry, pup, I don't bite." Well, as much as I used to at least. Her fanged grin made Naruto wonder if she was joking or not. For some strange reason, he was leaning more so towards the latter one. "Sometime today, pup." If Tsuma's anything like her son, then Naruto knew she was the impatient sort. Reaching into his inner pocket, Naruto pulled out a scroll that held Onishi's head, having switched it from his inventory box to the scroll at Anko's behest. The last thing they needed was someone asking how the dead last of all people was capable of using a space-time technique that could hold an infinite amount of items when he couldn't even perform a basic Bushin no Jutsu. Pumping some chakra into the scroll, the room filled with a puff of white, and Tsume was greeted with the head of Onishi. "Damn," the lounging woman muttered. "I've seen my share of ugly boars, but this one looks like it got hit with the ugly tree over and over again by Senjutsunade herself." "Onishishi," Naruto informed her. "Really? Well, imagine that. Never saw it personally, but I heard some of the locals talk about this thing. Most of us didn't bother doing anything, seeing as how I wanted to see if some of the pups around here would bring it down. If Tsume was impressed, she didn't show it. Honestly, Naruto thought she looked bored. And this guy, I found him there too." Naruto then presented her with Haremaru. Sum blinked before her eyes lit up and had no time to react before she wrapped in a bone-crushing hug. Can't breathe? Naruto seriously had no idea what was with these women trying to kill him with their bodies. Quest completed. Keep him safe. Keep him alive. Main quest. Ensure the safety of the lost Ninken and return him to the Inuzuka clan. Accomplished. Side quest. Ensure the lost Ninken doesn't suffer from the unconscious status effect. Accomplished. Total rewards earned. 3010%, Piqua 3300, XP 750. Reputation towards Inuzuka clan and Hadamaru, Ninken familiar. Congratulations! Your reputation with Inuzuka clan and Hadamaru has increased to like it. Quest completed. Bounty. Onishi. Main quest. Collect Onishi's bounty from whoever placed the bounty. Accomplished. Total rewards earned. 110%, Pual 1210 XP. 35,000. Rio. Congratulations, your level has increased by 1. Status window. Name, Uzumaki. Naruto. Job, Academy student. Level, 16 next level. 2,786. 12,000. HP, 5,425. I 350. I Vigor. Affinity. Basic rank was 6,063.75. CP, 9,525. Iron 625. Chakra Affinity. Basic rank 2, 10,657.5. Star, 23, 2, 23. Vit, 157, 10 to 167. End, 222, GA 15, 237. Dex, 44, 1, 245. Int, 39, 39. Wis, 16, 2, 16. Cha, 10, 10, 10. Look. Def, 23, 23. Attribute points, 24. Ordinary, perk points, 1. Pup, you have no idea how grateful I am, Zoom dropped him. Where was he? In training area, 1 pissing off boars, he told the clan matriarch. Why? That's weird. Why the hell would he be in that area? Sume wondered before she shrugged. Well, at any rate, you have my thanks. My genin searched everywhere in the compound and still couldn't find the mutt. Honestly, I thought they were just incompetent. Why's Hado so important? Naruto asked. Hado, Sume asked in turn, and then looked between both Naruto. Ah, shit. You two bonded, haven't you? Yes, was Naruto's hesitant response. Damn, that inconveniences things a bit, but it's livable. We'll have to work out something later on, but anyway. She waved that off and got to the point. Hado is half Kamenu, a breed of Ninken that's pretty much extinct. Kamenu? Anko asked. A strong breed of Ninken that we managed to get breeding rights before the clan perished. Pissed off the wrong people and you can use your imagination to fill in the rest. Kamenu are headstrong as pups but very protective and loyal for life, once you earn their trust. Even at a very young age their bite force is pretty strong, and when they get older Kamenu, bites are considered one of the strongest and deadliest among Ninken, and can take more punishment than any Ninken breed as well. I'm surprised he's not biting your ass. He did when we first met. Whacked his head pretty good and taught him who's Yi-Uwu. Naruto yelled and glared behind him. Really? I thought we were over this. Grr, was Hado's reply. Like I said, headstrong, even if you two are friends. Sume laughed before an idea dawned on her. Alright, kid. 'Cause I like you, I'm gonna offer you some help. Hopefully it'll get you two in cinch. Naruto said nothing to the offer as he was too distracted in his attempts to remove Hotemaru from his backside, huh? Sorry, what? With a lot of luck, too, Sume added. I'm sorry, but what are we talking about? Naruto was confused. Sume had a blank look when her eyes met Anko's. Kid's not exactly the sharpest kunai in the pouch, is he? Huh, Anko chuckled embarrassingly. Yeah, Gaki's duller than a spoon at times, but I'm working on it. Hey, yourself. Be grateful I didn't say you were duller than a grapefruit, Anko retorted. Wah, grapefruit aren't even... Oh, you're mean, he accused. And you're a half-wit half the time, Anko told her ward. You see what I'm dealing with here, right? Best of luck to you. Having her own half-wit male to deal with, Sume offered the younger Kunoichi her sympathy, but down to business. What do you think of dogs, pup? Huh, was Naruto's intelligent response to Tsumi's questions. Dogs are cool, I guess. Thought I'd get one when I was older, but being a ninja and all means I'd have to go away a lot, so. Then there's the whole, they don't live that long. I mean, Ayame-ni-kan and Tuchiji-san. Maybe even Oja-san could probably look after it when I'm gone. Whoa, pup, I just want a simple yes or no answer. Not your life story. Sume interrupted the boy. While Naruto wasn't the smartest of people, nor was he oozing tact, the Inuzuka matriarch could tell the ninja in training had given the matter some form of thought, even if it was a little all over the place. Oh, Naruto blushed a bit. Yes? What the hell kind of answer was that? Sume asked him. Excuse us for a moment, thanks. Anko grabbed hold of the boy and dragged him outside before anything could be said by either party. Gaki, do you have any idea what this means? I get a dog. Naruto's response got him a smack on the head. Oh, what the hell? This is an Inuzuka ninja dog, Gaki. Just calling them a dog is like calling a ninja a mere mercenary for hire. It doesn't do it justice and it's insulting. Do you have any idea? Scratch that, you don't know shit about what's happening at the moment, do you? His lack of response was her answer. Okay. Simply put, the amount of times I know the Inuzuka give someone outside the clan one of their ninkin, I can count on my hands, without a very large payment, of course. That rare. You have no idea. A clan that deals with ninja dogs have them specially bred for specific purposes. Though some breeds are stronger in some of them than others, and as they get older, and depending on how well trained they are, they make even some Junin hesitate to face them. Anko finished. When she put it like that, Naruto had to admit it sounded way cooler than he originally thought they would. With regular dogs, Naruto knew he'd have to train them, which would take time, and even then, they'd only be good for companionship, which was good, but helping him as a ninja, not so much. If what Anko was saying was true, and he hopefully understood her properly, a ninja dog could help him out and be a companion at the same time. Before Naruto could say accept, the group was interrupted by a familiar face. Mom, the idiot they sent, stepped on one of the dog's tails again. Kiba entered the scene with Akamaru. They have him. You! Anko lunged at Kiba and hosted the hooded academy student by the collar of his hoodie. What the hell, you crazy bitch! Kiba shouted with Akamaru barking at her. You're gonna pay for that stunt you pulled a while back, ya runt. And your little mutt too. Anko glared at Akamaru, and the small dog began backing away with his tail between his legs. So, that was you. Nice knowing you, man. Even if wanted to do something, Anko scared the hell out of him. Chicken shit! Midori, Anko called out. Not now, Anko-chan. I'm trying to sleep, the tired serpent stated. The brat and the Nankin who pissed on us is right in front of me. The declaration had great effect. I'll kill him. Midori considered herself to be very level-headed and slow to anger, but even she had her trigger. Getting pissed on by someone was one of them, especially when that someone could be easily turned into a meal. Mind telling me what the hell's happening? Sumer turned while Midori began to chase a yelping Akamaru out of the room. Akamaru, or maybe Kiba, pissed on Anko a while back. Naruto informed her and the boy swore Hadamaru was laughing a bit. If I didn't know about talking animals, this would seem weird. It still was, but not as much. But seeing what Kiba was currently going through, Naruto couldn't help but laugh alongside his future partner. The next day, Naruto didn't bother with a leash, as Sume told him young Ninken hated them even when used for undercover missions and trying pass off as regular dogs, and soon after he began making his way towards the Hokage Tower. Being asked by a masked ninja to head to village leader bright and early in the morning on a Sunday was not something Naruto expected. On the plus side, Naruto wasn't being escorted or bound like he usually was. But even then, Naruto wasn't eager to lose a weekend and hoped it wouldn't last long. Entering the building, Naruto and Hadamaru made their way up the stairs and arrived at the waiting room in short order. "Hey, Mariko-ni-chan." "Naruto-kun," Mariko greeted the boy before she became surprised by Hadamaru's unexpected jump on her desk. "No, bad dog," Naruto chided. "Oh, he's so cute," Mariko gushed and began scratching the puppy all over. The dog was loving every second of it, his hind leg kicking in the air as she gave him a belly rub. "Lousy no for good little Lettle." "Lost your pet already, huh? Tough break, Gaki," Anko said. "Gah, will you stop that?" Naruto was getting pretty sick of this game. "Nope," she grinned and spotted Hadamaru. "Wow, your dog left you for a woman with magic fingers." Hadamaru began doing yelps of pleasure, and his leg was shaking like crazy. "Can't say I don't blame him." "Hey! Send them in, Mariko-chan," Hiruzen's voice carried over the intercom. "Hi, Hokage-sama," Mariko motioned them to the door, and Naruto grabbed Hadamaru by the scruff of his neck inside the office. Lousy, betraying mutt, Naruto thought. "Take a seat, you two." Hiruzen motioned to the seat, but saw that one of them was already occupied. "I guess one of you will have to share a seat. Congratulations on acquiring a Ninken, Naruto." "How'd you know?" "Hadamaru's my Ninken, Gigi." Naruto's efforts to get the pup to sit on the floor was proving fruitless, and in the end, he merely had the pup lay down on his lap. "I'm not the Hokage for nothing, Naruto-kun," Hiruzen stated, as if it was the most obvious thing in the world. "This wouldn't have any relation to a certain D-rank bounty I was notified about, would it?" "I thought you said you weren't Hokage for nothing, Gigi," Naruto grinned. Slow as he was at times, the boy was quick when he wanted to be. "Point taken," the man chuckled, and as he watched both him and the Ninken interact, Hiruzen couldn't help but remember when he first summoned a very young Enma, when the summon was the Prince of the Monkeys. The arrogant and hot-headed princeling at the time didn't want to cooperate with him when they first met, but over time the two had become the closest of friends, and Hiruzen could always rely on the King of the Monkeys. But the happy memories were soon replaced by a sigh. "To be honest, I don't know whether to scold you or congratulate you on completing your first C-rank mission without being on the active roster. Naruto-kun?" "Come again. A C-rank mission." Naruto was confused, but that soon morphed in absolute joy. "Yes. In your face, Sasuke-ni. I completed a mission before you did?" "Sure, it was a C-rank one, but it still counted." Naruto settled down, aware of the rivalry between his surrogate grandson and the last Uchiha. Hiruzen could understand the boy's enthusiasm. Now, normally this would warrant disciplinary action, as you are not authorized to undertake a mission without special permission, and the accompaniment one of genin rank or higher. But, as you were unaware, and this occurred by accident, we can forgo such actions. "Hey, wait a sec! Why is it a C-rank mission but the bounty was D-rank?" Naruto asked, and both Hiruzen and Anko sweat dropped. "Never even heard a word," was the shared thought. "Well, to answer your question, Naruto-kun, the value and rank of bounties and missions fall under a different system. Eradication or capture of wildlife, such as a Nabuta, is considered a C-rank mission. Truthfully, the boy should have learned more about this at the academy, but the man didn't know if he was to blame it on Naruto skipping out on too many lessons, or what he believed to be an academy spy sabotaging the new crop of potential genin, or a combination of both. Either way, one was bad, the other was worse. At any rate, congratulations, Naruto. Now on to business. Here Hiruzen took out a piece of paper and passed to the academy student. What's this? Standard paperwork for missions and bounties. Normally, your Jonin instructor would be the one filling it out until you achieve the rank of Chunin, but since this is a special circumstance, you'll be the done to do so. The man smiled upon finishing. Great, Naruto drawled as he got to it. The form was pretty standard, but Naruto had to stop a couple of times and be guided through the process by Hiruzen. By the time Naruto was done, and since he had to do the whole thing 3 times, all 3 going to different locations, the boy had developed a dislike for paperwork. Thank you, taking his copy. Naruto watched as Hiruzen sealed the document into a scroll and marveled at how the paperwork pretty much merged with the rolled parchment. Fascinated by the display, and due to the fact that he had a scroll that he couldn't use unless he had a basic understand of Fuinjutsu, alongside one of his perks giving him a boon in that area for whatever reason, Naruto didn't think twice before asking. Hey Gigi, can you teach me how to do seals? Oh, Kami-sama, for the longest time was Hiruzen hoping this didn't come to pass until the appropriate time. But, much like his mother did at his age, Naruto left him with no other choice but adapt to a situation they caused. In all honesty, Hiruzen believed that Naruto wouldn't have taken an interest in seals, and for the longest time his assumptions had been true due to the boy's preference for learning ninjutsu, like most others. Being an orphan, even if the remaining members of his clan were hidden and scattered across the countries, meant Naruto didn't grow up with the skills that most children in clans did or was usually expected to possess. Skilled and gifted as they were, being an Uzumaki didn't automatically mean being good at Fuinjutsu, or knowing how to draw seals by the time they were born. Unlike their red hair, it wasn't a hereditary trait, nor was it a bloodline limit like the Byakugan or the Sharingan. While it was true that the Uzumaki clan were feared far and wide because of their mastery in Fuinjutsu, that little to no one could match, that came from centuries upon centuries of practice and failures that were passed down to the next generation. Granted, even at a young age, the average Uzumaki had an above-average grasp and understanding of seals than most others. And when it came to Uzumaki prodigies in the art, it was a whole other ballgame. And that last part made Hiruzen uneasy. Poor to average ninja in training. Or not, if Naruto inherited even a drop of talent for that field from either one of his parents, many could start to ask questions. Iwa and Kumo certain wouldn't hesitate to end him after what Minato did in the last war, while it was more so the former Hiruzen was worried about, given the enormous losses they suffered by Minato's hand, garnered feelings of revenge that remained to this day. Kumo had a few pocket areas that wouldn't hesitate to end Minato's line, if only to deny Konoha from potentially gaining a formidable advantage in the future, especially if it turned out Naruto somehow. Even though Minato was much more powerful than his wife, and a prodigy that excelled at everything he did, Kushina had been a very strong kunoichi still, and was the only one that ever outranked her husband in terms of Fuinjutsu. The late Uzumaki wasn't like her distant Senju cousin in terms of power and prowess, but had been one of the few kunoichi of her lifetime that had many believe she had the potential to rival, and perhaps be on par with Tsunade someday? With her untimely death, the answer to that question would forever remain unanswered. Naruto's getting stronger but not quickly enough to last against the more powerful ninja. Even after all these years, some still try to find what remains of the Uzumaki clan. Hiruzen had gotten reports from Jiraiya and his Ambu that were sent on special missions to locate any of the remaining Uzumaki clan members and bring them back to Konoha for sanctuary. It was easier said than done, and at times some clan members they had a lead on were either too elusive to find. Their seals, he didn't doubt, helped them in this, or they were too late and their bodies were found mutilated by enemy factions to find out their secrets. As it was, Tsunade and Naruto were currently the only ones with Uzumaki blood left in them that was affiliated with Konoha. After nearly 30 years, Hiruzen doubted there were many full-blooded Uzumaki left now. But as much as he wanted to protect the boy short of binding and locking him up, Naruto wouldn't give up on learning something or become a ninja. The boy inherited his mother's bull-headed stubbornness and his father's never-give-up attitude. It was a dangerous combination in his mind. Fortunately, Hiruzen was a smart individual and knew how to handle such situations as easily as breathing. While I admire your enthusiasm to learn a skill very few take advantage of, I'm afraid I'll have to say no at the moment. Before you interrupt, Hiruzen stopped the blonde as soon as he saw signs of protest. You must know that learning and using seals isn't as simple as it sounds. Naruto-kun, Hiruzen stated, and then passed the document Naruto had completed to Anko before he continued. Fuinjutsu is as a powerful, complicated, and deadly art. It requires a great amount of skill, concentration, dedication, imagination, and absolute precision. There can be no margin for errors even for simplest of them, he explained. Precision? Isn't it just writing down symbols and stuff? The boy got a smack upside the head by Anko. Ow! Fuinjutsu is more than just writing symbols and stuff, Gakibaka. Anko shook her head as she looked at his writing. Where the hell did you learn to write? This is worse than awful. Blunt and crude as ever, Anko, were Hiruzen's thoughts. But while she exaggerated, the kunoichi was not technically wrong either. The boy's calligraphy left much to be desired. Kanahamaru was younger, but had much better calligraphy. Anko-chan is right, Naruto-kun. Fuinjutsu is much more than merely writing a symbol or a series of characters on a blank piece of paper. While I've seen much worse, the way you filled in the documents is still very sloppy. As of now, I'm afraid of what would happen should you try even the basics. Fuinjutsu is a delicate art. A single mistake from an out-of-place character, the wrong stroke of the ink, or incompatible symbols or functions will have disastrous results. I've seen what happens to inexperienced individuals who meddle in the field only for it to greatly backfire on them. The most occurring theme is them being killed or crippled, or this happening to those around them. I once saw a young man try to seal a weapon within his arm. His lack of knowledge and inexperience in Fuinjutsu did not end well. The man still cringed at the memory. What happened? His entire arm was turned into a pin cushion from within, and the amount of shrapnel and distortion caused by the backlash forced him to give up being a ninja, and nearly ruined his life. Hiruzen wasn't going to sugarcoat it. Any aspect of the ninja lifestyle was dangerous, but Fuinjutsu could be considered the most dangerous field for a reason, and he didn't want Naruto going into it without knowing the risks. And judging by Naruto's slightly paling at the prospect, Hiruzen guessed his words struck home. As it now, Naruto, I can't allow you to learn Fuinjutsu. Once your calligraphy is at a very acceptable level, and you are able to focus and not merely rush and get it over and done with, I will consider it. Until then, you're forbidden from learning it. Naruto knew whenever Gigi used his absolute authority voice, there was no going around it. Quest alert! Calligraphy 101. Main quest. Learn and master the skill. Calligraphy up to level 20. Main quest completion. 250 rep with Sarutobi Hiruzen, 1500 XP. Unlock Fuinjutsu skill. Accept. Yes, no. Okay, Gigi. Naruto knew better to argue at this point with the old man and accepted the quest. Very good. Hiruzen released a sigh of relief. He hadn't wanted to do this, but it was for Naruto's own good. He wouldn't deny Naruto using Fuinjutsu. He remained worried nonetheless, but he needed the boy to be stronger and in a better mindset before he allowed him to take a shot at it. Naruto wasn't like his father where he could learn, master, and sometimes even improve a skill and make it look like child's play. Nor did he have Kushina's skill in calligraphy, a fact that shocked many who knew the tomboy. Naruto had to start at the bottom and work his way up. There was still a chance he'd take to Fuinjutsu better than he expected, but Hiruzen would cross that bridge if it came to that. On another note, how is the training coming along? I realize Anko's methods are likely unorthodox and unique to say the least. The man deadpanned when she said, damn proud of it, and Naruto mirrored the hawkage with his own deadpan look. Slow, but the brat's getting there. Besides, when it comes to the Gaki, I think unorthodox and kinesthetic learning methods actually seem to get better results. Kinestwat. Naruto was unfamiliar with the word. It means you learn better by doing things than by reading them. Gaki, Anko told him. In other words, you have a hell of a lot easier time physically practicing a technique when it's showed to you than by learning the theory of it and not being showed. Oh, gotcha. Naruto nodded in understanding. Hiruzen smiled as he watched the two. A bond, a very unique one to say the least, had been formed between the two despite the short amount of time they knew each other. Despite her hesitance at the time, Anko was a decent teacher despite her past and unique personality. I mean, let's face it. If I didn't do anything, the Gaki would most likely get his ass handed to him on a silver platter when he goes up against other ninja. No offense. Anko said that, but the look on her face told them differently. None taken, Naruto groused but mentally thought. Up yours. Hiruzen could only offer an awkward laugh. The two before them were so alike it was a tad frightening at times. Hiruzen could only hope it didn't lead to the creation of another Anko. Not to say Anko wasn't a delight. In small doses, that is. But having Naruto being molded into a miniature version of her would likely cause a riot in certain circles. Well, hopefully the results will speak for themselves before the graduation ceremony begins in January, said Hiruzen. Naruto blinked only once before a bad feeling began to develop within him. The graduation ceremony is in January, Gigi. Yes. Unlike the previous 5 years where the term lasted 10 months, the final year was only 5 as there wasn't much left for our instructors to teach students in terms of schooling. The final 2 years are mostly used to up the academy students' physical and weapon capabilities. While a great emphasis on in-class studies such as previous strategies used, what to expect to happen when in another country is still required to learn. Hiruzen explained as though it were common knowledge. But it wasn't in Naruto's case, but that means Naruto stopped cold as a hand landed on his shoulder, and he felt a great chill go up his spine. It means, Gaki, that you and I are going to have 3 months of non-stop fun time together. Her oh-so-familiar sadistic and pain-inducing grin appeared. Even Hiruzen had to admit he was slightly unnerved by the look. It reminded him too much of his old student. Is it too late to ask for another mentor? Naruto squeaked out as he felt himself being dragged by the cuff of his clothes. That ship sailed, caught fire, and sank into the inky black abyss, Gaki. From this day forth, welcome to Anko's training from hell, she cackled as she left the office. Arf. Hadamaru released a sigh of relief. Oops, almost forgot. Anko popped back in, and Hadamaru found himself wrapped around Midori's coils. Thought you were exempt from this, didn't you, Pochi? The grinning sadist merely got a whimper from the small creature, an action that was mimicked and shared by his owner. Maybe this wasn't such a good idea. At worst, the woman would break the boy and he'd be left a complete mess. At best, he'd become a much more competent ninja. As he began going back to work to distract himself from such unwanted thoughts, another one flickered in his head. What if she actually does turn him into a miniature version of herself? The man couldn't help but think on the potential hell he may have opened. Flashback end. What's so funny? Anko asked. What? You laughed. What's up? The kunoichi clarified. Oh. Just thinking about the meeting with Gigi and what you did to Kiba a while back. Naruto elaborated and continued to laugh. Oh yeah, that was fun, Anko joined in. Though Naruto had a different opinion on the matter, he stayed silent for fear of ending up like Kiba. Changing the subject, by the way, with the way he described her, I used to think Kiba's sister was sweet and kind. Oh, I don't blame you. Compared to the rest of her clan, Hana's pretty ordinary. The younger kunoichi's only flaw was that she sucked at sewing, but even then, that was nothing. But... And let this be another lesson. Never judge a book by its cover. Especially when that person is a ninja. I know. I know. Being a ninja meant that one was to be an expert of deception. Whether that be portraying yourself as weak and incompetent, average and unassuming, or charming and kind, a ninja did what they had to in order to get one to lower their guard and make them regret doing so. Arf! From behind, Naruto could hear Hado whine pathetically. The blonde couldn't help think back on Hana's words. Kamenu are strong and tough, Naruto-san. Don't think just because Hado's a puppy that he can't take care of himself. Of course, until he gets older, there are limits you should be mindful of, and it's your responsibility to rein him in. Ninja beasts are smarter and stronger, but you can't forget that they are still animals, and even more limited in what they can do. Their instincts can also get the best of them just as any human's emotions can, Hana told him. Check, Naruto nodded. Now, seeing as how you're not an Inuzuka, unfortunately we can't teach you our clan techniques. Hado will instinctively know some as he gets more combat experience, but that won't be for a while. Until then, I'm going to get you two in sync. Fighting with a partner, especially a ninkin, is different than fighting solo. Without practice or having a feel for your partner's methods that comes from hours of practice, you risk hurting yourself and him. Cass-san won't be pleased if she finds out he's been badly hurt. Believe me, Hana warned him. Double check, Naruto quickly added. So, for the time being, we are going to have you two perform repetitive exercises. Hana's smile was kind, but what followed was anything but. The exercises had been essentially geared towards boosting the ninkin's stamina and speed along with getting both ninja and ninkin familiar with their fighting style. Hado had incredible stamina for a puppy his age, but his speed, while still allowing him to be slippery and fast, wasn't as good when compared to other ninkin such as Akamaru. Kamenu also tended to possess naturally occurring protective instincts and wouldn't hesitate to put themselves in harm's way, a dangerous trait for a vulnerable wet behind the ears puppy to have. So, what now? Naruto asked. Now, you're on your own for the next bit. Word you might be, I'm still a Tokubetsu Jonin that needs to do field work from time to time. It's my turn to do border patrol and I'll be gone a little over a week. Hayat and Yugao will look after your training when they can, but for now, you're essentially on your own, the Kunoichi informed him. The don't slack off comment went unsaid, but would have been unnecessary. Naruto was too afraid of Anko to risk it. What should I do then? I don't know. Get the pooch combat experience. Anko just haphazardly threw it out there later. When he thought about the idea had merit. Naruto and Anko personally believed that there was no better way to learn something than by it through trial by fire. 3 weeks had passed, and Hado had gone up a few levels since then. Status window. Name: Hadamaru. Job: Ninkin, Ninja Dog. Level: 6. Next level: 1358, 3600. HP: 475. CP: 375. Star: 10. Vit: 19. Dex: 17. End: 15. Int: 5. Wis: 7. Cha: 3. Look: 16. Defense: 0. App: 7. Thank you, special perk. By that, Naruto referred to the Igamer's combat petty that Hado had been blessed with the moment he agreed to keep him. Not only would Naruto not need to constantly invite Hadamaru, it also gave him virtually the same perks as the gamer. The only downside was Naruto having to be the one to allocate the ninkin's attribute points. The dog not being intelligent enough to understand the concept. Speaking of which, he wondered where he should allocate Hadamaru's AP. In the end, Naruto decided to allocate them to his dex. Just because Hado would grow up to be able to take hits and shrug them off didn't mean the boy wanted him to rely on it. Why suffer from a blow when you can dodge it and not get hit at all? The puppy merely tilted his head at the strange technique he had, and whatever he was talking about. Oh right, you don't know what I'm talking about. Well, you'll find out later. Naruto contemplated if the Ninken should be taken to the next natural dungeon, or if he should go on the side of caution and revisit the zombies. Tempting as he was to get the next key, Hato's level and attributes weren't good enough to risk it. Sure, Naruto could leave the Ninken behind, but the Ninken wasn't disciplined enough yet, and the dog needed the experience. The problem with the zombie dungeon wasn't just having to deal with a boss that had a level twice greater than Hato and Naruto's combined. Naruto was now at a level where killing foes with such a difference between them brought minimal XP return, even with the bonuses from his equipment and perks. Loot would be decent, but in reality, only Hato would benefit from the dungeon until his instant dungeon creation skill leveled up so he could manipulate it. But, on the upside, even if they somehow ended up killed, they wouldn't stay that way. Not unlike the natural dungeons that only gave them a single pass per run. Plus, it would give Hatomaru some decent targets for his Itsuga, passing Fang. Skill he managed to pull off about a week ago. Hana had been impressed, but even then, she mentioned that the pup had a while before it was effective. As of now, Hatomaru was only able to pull off the move 4 times before he tired himself out. Which was still very good, as most inexperienced Ninken pups could only do half that much. Naruto had been given a pouch full of special Hinazuka clan military rations, pillow to restore, and reduce the rate in which Hato's chakra was lost, and give them a boost of chakra at the same time. Naruto would have loved to have used them, but the pills were specially designed to only work on clan members and Ninken. Anyone else would be emptying their bodies from both ends until the effects wore off. The worst hangover and barely able to crawl-like side effects that came afterwards was only the cherry on top. Okay, before we go, let's use some armor. Hopefully Tetsu's has some, and then it's off to Ichiraku's before we head home. Hatomaru merely whined. The blasphemous little dog didn't care for ramen all that much and preferred meat. Naruto had cut back on ramen quite a bit, and the times he did visit the Ichiraku stand he ate less than usual. Chuchi jokingly saying that he was going to run him out of business for not eating as much as he used to. If he had his way, Naruto would eat nothing but that heavenly food. But Anko and Ayame Nichin were in cahoots, and Naruto did want to get rid of the malnourished flaw. Ah, fine, we'll go to Yakiniku Q instead. The grill-it-yourself restaurant was Hatomaru's favorite place to eat. His love for it only outdone by Chuji. It wasn't that bad in his mind, but he still preferred Ichiraku ramen. But next time we're going to Ichiraku. Your reputation with Hatomaru has increased by 50. Hatomaru merely yipped happily and headed off towards Tetsu's as fast as he could. Though much quicker than what he used to be, the Ninken wasn't as fast as Naruto, and the gamer was able to keep up with his companion.